Hello, welcome back to another episode of Xbox Infinite. It's been a really interesting week this week. Before I jump into introductions, we've got some awesome guests this week. We've got Doc Dark, we've got Hargeet Channy. I do, obviously, most of you, if you guys are on Twitter, would know that unfortunately Cutie is not with the show anymore. We do wish her all the best, and we really loved the last 16 months of having her on the show. And hopefully Gamer Girls podcast, which is right after ours, takes off. And we wish her all the success in the world. Now that's out of the way. Doc Dark, welcome to the show. How you doing? How's your week been? What have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you guys for having me on. Let me tell you, man, I've been infiltrated lately by the ponyism, so I needed a green platform to get brought back to sanity. So I'm excited to talk about some topics because as they say, the grass is not always greener on the other side. So I'm extremely happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me. Y'all took too long. Y'all should have been having me on here, but it's all good. I appreciate you guys, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's been a while coming. It's great to have you on the show. Thanks for coming through. Hargeet Channy, welcome back. How's your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Been mostly busy, but I've been playing Hogwarts as much as I can. And I don't know, like 35 something plus hours into it. And I don't know if I'm even like a third of the way through the game.
Scratch the
But
surface.
I'm also just exploring everywhere, right? So I want to go find every little nook and cranny. So I've been doing a lot of exploring instead of the story, but it's been pretty good. It's a great game. So that's pretty much what I've been playing. I also started that game, Edge of Eternity, I think it is. That's leaving Game Pass. And it seemed okay, but I haven't gotten too much into that.
Yeah.
What I'm doing.
Hogwarts is huge, dude. Like, what have you said? You had 30 hours, and I think I played 30 hours and didn't even make it to the halfway point, and I gave up. Is it? What do you?
Man,
you playing it on the X?
I started on the X, and then now that I have this 4090 equipped PC, I figured, what the hell, I'll throw it there and turn on every bell and whistle. So I restarted it. I think I had about 10 hours into it, so I restarted it, and I'm now playing on the PC. But it's a great game. That's too bad you like stopped. There's like so many things and layers of just like you open up another area as you get more and more capabilities, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it just seemed like it was overwhelming is the word for it. It got too much. I think it opened up too much too quick for me. So like there was too much stuff on the map. Got real Ubisofty. But it was a good game. Good game. I don't want to take anything away from it. Infinite Umbra, welcome, hot off the press from Gamers Initiative podcast. How you doing? How's your week been? How's the podcast?
Oh man, it's good. It's good. Yeah, I had to escape off that podcast. Ashtray and them helped me in the grip. But no, it was good casting with the brothers. But yeah, man, it's been a good week. Had a really good podcast the other day on the fix. We went for 3 hours and 24 minutes, man. And it felt like it was about an hour. That's how hallmarks of a good conversation. Happy to be here with you guys tonight, Doc. Nice to meet you, brother. Happy. I love the energy. You had to be here, and happy you and our Hargeet are here with us tonight. And of course, with my podcasting brothers. Yeah, no doubt. My podcasting brothers, Pete and Risk. So thank everybody in the chat for being here. You could be anywhere else in the world, but why would you? No, but yeah, thank you guys for being here, and should be a really good discussion, man. As far as gaming, I've been playing Atlas Fallen, some Halo here and there. I even played a bit of the Castlevania Lords of Shadow, so I've just been playing everything, really. I'm just biding the time until Starfield, really. But yeah, it's been a good week.
Yeah, I was going to get Atlas, man. But I watched ACG. Was iffy. Then I watched my favorite review guy, Skillup. He didn't have much to say. Thank you, Colin, for the subscription. Really appreciate you, brother. I'm not gonna get it, man. What's your thoughts on Atlas so far?
They gave it a rough overall 70 out of 100, right? Which is a 7 out of 10, which is a good game. That's really
good, right.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think that's about where it's at for me right now. Now I've only played about 3 hours worth, so I have to give it some more time to see if it really ups its ante. But I heard that the more you get into it with more combat options, like I'm still missing 2 different weapons, for instance. The more you get into it, it more, the better it gets. I do like the combat from what I've played, and the movement is fun. It's gliding on the snow, excuse me, the sand. But it does bring to mind a bit of Forspoken, just because of the gauntlet you speak to, and because of the movement, which she would like freestyle parkour over the stuff as you held the button down, right? So it's similar in that way. But other than that, I think the combat is punchier. So I think you would like it, but I wouldn't fault you if you held off to getting it when it was cheaper, though.
Yeah, man, it's like I was looking it up on the store. It was like $100. Well, this is Australian dollars, obviously. It was $100. I was like, nah, not for $100. I'm definitely not doing that. But yeah, JediKnightPete, welcome back. How's your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Good. I'm still on my massive Remnant 2 kick. I love that game. The more I play it, the more I love it. I'm just going through adventure mode now. I tried to fight the final boss again with a couple of friends, with Holly and Kitty, Bobby's wife. Just couldn't do it. And that was on survivor difficulty. That final boss is just kicks your ass.
I heard
It's
you were
ridiculously hard.
I heard you were a bit distracted though.
Yes, because you wouldn't shut up. So it was infuriating trying to fight the boss with 10 other people in the party, and you just really need full concentration on that boss, because the objective, I think, of the developer was trying to sensory overload you, so there's just red flashes across the screen, things are going crazy, all over the screen, a lot of noise. So I turned the vibration off, I turned the music off, but you in my ear was just infuriating. And I know you were doing it on purpose, but it just wasn't fun. And I also bought Atlas Fallen, and I haven't played much of it yet. I got it because it's a co-op game. I love playing my co-op games. So as soon as I got into it, I invited Umbra in, and he's like, nah, not doing it. So yeah, that was nice. But I need to get a little bit more into it. So far, the combat seems fun. It seems fluid. The game looks beautiful. I wouldn't say it's a great game, but I think it's a good game. Let's get into this. Welcome, Doc. Been too long, bro.
I don't ever advise turning vibration off, especially for you ladies. Look, we're gonna jump into the show. That was a bit messy. First topic off the rung. Excuse me. I will say, guys, I'm a little bit off this week. I've got a slight cold, and I don't know if you guys know, but I have a bit of a back issue, and that's playing up. So I'm not at the top of my game this week, but I'll try to do my best for all you guys out there. PlayStation has delayed the no games that they don't have. No, so we got a bit of a report from Sony's latest financial get-together report meeting. Says Sony's latest financial report indicates the company delayed multiple PlayStation exclusives, which were originally meant to release in the second half of its current fiscal year, which I believe that would be the back end of 2024, right? The middle way of 2024. This turn of events raises additional concerns about the gaming's giant near-term ability to add system sellers to the PS5's game catalog, which still largely consists of cross-gen titles like God of War Ragnarok and Gran Turismo 7. This sort of leaves me wondering, what did they actually delay? They delaying these gas games? Is that what's the delay's about? Did they have stuff in the works that we don't know about? But for me, as a PlayStation 5 owner, but after Spider-Man 2, there's nothing for me on that platform that I'm interested in. Maybe Ronin, but they're all third-party titles, so there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, if they're exclusive, I'm going to play them if they're on the platform and it brings me across. But yeah, a bit concerned, I think, about sort of Sony's future going forward. That they don't seem to have any of their big bangers. Doc, I know you probably saw this happening through the week. Do you have any concerns about PlayStation sort of going forward? What their slate's going to be? Because as far as I can tell,
of course.
Yeah.
Hold on. This is what we gotta stop doing. This is what we gotta stop doing. Okay, Spider-Man is not for everyone. Not everyone likes playing quick time events and all that other stuff. Okay, we're not gonna sit here and pretend like everything that Sony has dropped has been amazing. It's not. Now, the PlayStation 5 is selling tremendously, and it's a combination of what they did with the PS4, so you can't take that away from them, and the popularity of what the PS5 is. They are a household name more than Xbox is. So them selling consoles, okay, yes, that's fine. Sony knows that something like Spider-Man, especially to the casual gamer, sounds awesome, sounds amazing. But I played Spider-Man. I played Spider-Man the remastered version because I didn't get to play the first one when it originally came out. It was an okay game. It was all right. You're fighting the same people over and over again. You're fighting 3 thugs that are one size and then one big thug that you got to press triangle and freaking square at the same time. You know exactly what I'm talking about to do the power move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're doing the weird side missions like collecting book bags to be able to get certain suits and stuff like that. Like, it was cool. Once that game was done, I had no desire to this day to play Miles Morales. And I hear that's a shame because Miles Morales apparently is a good game, okay? Spider-Man 2 is another safe game. That's what I call it. Sony brings out safe games, and I can't fault them for that because their fan base buys all these safe games, and that's why they keep doing it. That's why you keep seeing these remasters and all that other stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if what they delayed is a few other safe games so that they could throw what they're actually wanting to throw in there, which are these live service games, but they know they're going to take a gamble with it. They don't know exactly how the PlayStation fan base is going to fare with those types of games. So I hope what they're delaying is something completely different. That's what I hope for, but I know that it's not. It's probably going to be another game with a bow and arrow, like all their other games have it, third person, over the shoulder. It'll look amazing. We're not going to take that away from them. I'm sure it'll look amazing, but it'll be safe. So I am concerned with Sony from that part as far as their first party studio and how much they stick to being safe.
Yeah, don't forget the companion, and you definitely do have to play Miles Morales. It's probably one of the best DLCs I think that Sony's come out with, but you couldn't call that a full-fledged game. It's 5 hours. I knocked that over in 5 hours, and I did everything. So, yeah, Huggy, are you concerned about PlayStation going forward?
Look, so I went through all their studios, and most of the games they've released, besides the ones that are brand new, they've released them in the last couple of years, so 2020 onwards. That does mean they have like a little bit of a gap as far as what's coming up. The only game I can see that's potentially next year is Concord, which we haven't seen much about, but we did see it. Then they have second party, third party deals. I'm sure there'll be more of those, right? So you'll get the awesome game of the year Foam Stars. That's going to be exclusive to, at least it seems like it. And they'll have equivalents to that, right? So Helldivers 2, that could be something that's over the next year or so. So we'll see. Maybe that's basically it. Now, look, every year they do release MLB The Show, right? So we have to give them that they do release a game every year. Will that be enough? Probably not, since that game is likely to be on Nintendo next time. It's going to be on PC. It's already on Xbox and in Game Pass.
On Game Pass, yep.
So, you know, it's it doesn't help in the console wars, but it is a game. It's a game that comes out every year, so they have that. Am I worried about Sony? Yeah, no, that's just kind of pointless because the entire planet outside of the US is PlayStation. So they'll keep buying it and they'll keep waiting for whatever games they're going to have, and they'll play the casual games that they will not be paying Microsoft for Call of Duty and Minecraft, right? So that's kind of how it works out. But outside of that, like 2024 is probably not going to be a good year for them. As far as like first party games. 2025, you're probably going to start seeing a few of these games. But which ones? Like Wolverine hopefully comes out. Fair Games maybe. And what that is, I have no idea, right? Marathon. I don't know when the other games start coming in, right? So it usually takes 5-ish years. Now, if you're going to add in extra time to actually make a next-gen game, these studios, just like everybody else, they have to learn the new system, right, to take advantage of everything. Well, that takes extra time, so it could be 26 before you start seeing games from some of the bigger studios. But we'll see, right? So it's looking like a bad year next year, but maybe Sony pulls something out of the hat we just didn't realize. So am I worried? I'm not worried about their sales. I'm not worried about their income. As far as their games, yeah, it could be light, but I don't know that that's going to matter, right? So unless Microsoft really digs in and says, here's 12 games that are AAA that you can only play here, and they're all freaking 90 plus meta, I just don't see that really making that much of a dent. So it's great. Microsoft's starting to compete. That's awesome, but I'm not worried about Sony losing anything. I think they're going to be just fine. But yeah, as far as their games, next year's looking kind of thin, right? People kind of forgot that 2021 they had 2 games, MLB The Show and Ratchet and Clank. Everybody gives them credit for Returnal. Fair enough. They did buy the studio afterwards, so I'll give you a half a point for that. But that was a pretty barren year, and nobody seemed to bat an eye.
Well, that's a good.
Right? Nobody seemed to care.
That's a good point.
It just
so
it just went through. Nobody cared.
Have you noticed
right? So,
that this year, while this is happening, while this is going on, and it's pretty obvious. I think everyone's sort of hey, like where is PlayStation's next games? What's happening? No one's talking about this. There's no media doom and gloom articles like there were in Xbox 2022. Right. There was doom and gloom articles all through the year about what is Xbox going to do.
23, like as we know, it's one game on top of MLB, right? They haven't really put out anything else, right? So unless you start counting all like the remasters and stuff like that, right? But if you're talking about new games, right? They have Spider-Man. That's what their big game is. They had MLB again, right? But what else do they have? They just have third-party exclusive deals, and that's cool. That's something. But this is another barren year, right? So, but hey, it's a big game. I'm not gonna, knock that. Spider-Man's a huge property. It'll probably do gangbuster numbers for them, given that they also have a limited number of consoles it's going to be targeting. You also keep that in mind, just like Final Fantasy, right? If you're gonna have 40 million, 50 million consoles, you're only gonna sell so many. There's gonna be only so many attach rates, so high an attach rate for a game. So. That might cut it down a bit, but it's going to do well. I'm sure it'll be fine. And eventually they'll put it on PC where it'll also expand. But this is going to be interesting. We'll see. It's the first next-gen only game that's big, right? They've had Returnal, which is a small game. I think it sold under 1 million. They had Demon's Souls, which was... Yeah, it was pretty bad, right? RNC, which was around that, as well, right? Ratchet and Clank was about $1 million and a half, maybe 2 million. Mm-hmm. So not great. And then Demon's Souls, which I don't know what the numbers are, but I don't recall it being that much of a seller. So far, those are the only ones I'm aware of that are first party, like, next gen only games. This will be the next big one. Spider-Man will be the big game, right? So we'll see how it does. There's some interesting dynamics of where Sony is going. They're deciding to switch to a more games as a service focus. And well, that could be an interesting shift for their player base because that's not what they're expecting, right? But that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but it does have a that showcase was not something people expected. I certainly didn't, and we were all in a party chat while it was happening. I'm like, this is the shittiest thing. Like, what the heck is going on? This is a joke.
I remember that chat.
It's like it was a joke, right? Like this can't be their showcase, really, right? And so this is what
sold about 1.5 million copies, which isn't bad because it was a launch title, so that's not that bad. Final Fantasy 16, which I know isn't a first party, but it sold 3 million. So I don't know what the hell Square Enix is on about not selling well, or for an exclusive game, I think that's done tremendously well.
We'll get to Final
We'll
Fantasy.
get to that one. That's a whole other story.
We can get to that.
But this flip into the games as a service, right? The Jim Ryan new mindset. I don't know if that's going to pan out or not. We'll see how that goes. Their multiplayers haven't exactly been killing it in the entire the gaming scene. So we'll see. That fan
base doesn't even play multiplayer.
There's fairness to that.
Damn sense. Yeah.
There's fairness to that, but they did release multiplayers that did okay in the PS3 gen, the PS2. So they did have some, but now they've kind of left that in the dust, and they basically just make the bow and arrow sad dad walking simulator games, right? Or sometimes it's a woman, but that's basically been their genre. And well, I don't know if that's gonna flip immediately to the other side or not. Hopefully it does, right? Hopefully they'll get something out of it. Foam Stars will take off. We'll see how that goes. But
how funny would it be if it did? How funny would that be if that was like this?
You know what? More power to them. Like I don't want games to fail, so that'd be awesome, right? What the heck, right? Who thought that Splatoon would do so well? But it did. So
Right.
so what the heck, right? If it takes off, it takes off, right? So good for Square Enix there, and good for Sony. But if that doesn't work out, and you're gonna have to expect this going forward, that their games aren't gonna all be 80s 90s meta, because if you're playing this game with games as a service, some of those suck and they will get bad ratings. That's just the way it is, right? So that's gonna have to be like the Sony thing going forward. And I think they had like 60% of their budget is gonna eventually be allocated to games as a service. They're not taking away money from the single player stuff, but they are adding to the games as a service. So we'll see how this goes, and if the new Jim Ryan version of PlayStation is what the fans actually want or not. It does open an opportunity for the other two, if they want to do something, to actually give an alternative, right? So we'll see if they do. Nintendo's coming up with a new console, and Microsoft's certainly trying stuff. They seem to fail all the time, but they're trying stuff.
Ain't that the truth? You know what the question I have though, Hargy? The question I have is why would Nintendo's why would PlayStation change their strategy when they're already doing so well?
Money. Like Jim Ryan just sees money, right? And to be fair to them, the cost for doing these very high, quality, high
very expensive
budget, production quality, games, movies. I keep saying, but anyway, cinematic games. It just keeps they get more and more expensive. That's just the problem, right? And it takes so much to make that happen. And if you keep pushing this narrative that you have to have these high fidelity graphics, so that's a lot of people who have to make those graphics. That's a lot of cost, right? So as that budget keeps going up and up and up, you need to somehow keep yourself afloat to be able to make that happen, right? And it is possible to do, within their normal games, as long as they sell 10 plus million. Not all of them do, and so they have to subsidize. And that's where like games as a service is just such a appealing thing, right? Because they look at the ones that took off.
You just need one.
Look, that thing makes billions and billions and billions, right? But unfortunately, they don't all take off. That's kind of the problem, right?
But you do just need one to take off. When they're throwing, like, for one of the better analogy, if you throw shit at a wall, eventually something's going to stick, right? So if they just get one of those,
and that's what they're hoping for.
Then they're good.
That's what they're hoping for.
Yeah,
fair.
That's a good point. You only need one.
Yep, and if it does stick and they can keep generating that revenue, that's awesome. It just pumps them full of cash to actually be able to keep making those more expensive games. It's sometimes maybe even gamble. One of the things I don't like about the way Jim Ryan's gone, though, is he looks at things that are easy money instead of potentially cool game ideas, right? So you don't get a Pentiment from Sony anymore. They used to do quirky games like that, but that's all gone. They shut down like Japan studios that would make all these weird little games. That's all gone. Now it has to be something that's AAA. It's going to do well, right? That's kind of all they look for. We'll see what Bend comes up with, because they were shut down after Days Gone, but they were given another game. I don't know what that game is and how that's going to work out. But the things that are somewhat concerning to me, the next game from Naughty Dog was supposed to be a multiplayer game. Maybe they'll also have, hopefully, they also have something else that's single player. Is it Sucker Punch who did Ghost of Tsushima? They are working on a multiplayer thing, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, don't I get like a Ghost of Tsushima too? So I don't know what's happening with those, right? So if all those studios are in some way now being, tagged to make multiplayer plus single player, that's generally a recipe for disaster. It's usually not worked out. It's almost better to just leave those folks to do what they know what to do. And, like you look at what BioWare did with Anthem, that was not good. You can look at Redfall. No, that's not what we wanted.
I mean, look at Halo.
Right?
They
you just go down the line. There's so many.
Yeah, they had the best
but
chance
Halo
of making
at least started as a multiplayer.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you.
They had the best chance of making a live service game. So that was one of the best opportunities you could have. And then that didn't go well. So when you're taking a single player studio, and that's what they do, those third person over the shoulder, got a bow and arrow, here's my companion, sad dad walking simulator, I could go on. But when they do that, and then you switch them over to a live service game, you can almost get that's a 98% chance it's going to fail. So yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, it's very rare that would work, and I'm hoping they don't keep pushing that narrative. Avowed apparently was going down that path to be able to sell the game to a publisher, and Microsoft stepped in and said, no, don't do that. make it single player. That's what you guys do. Just make it single player. Thank God they did that, because I don't want to have another Redfall, right? So I don't know how this is gonna go. We'll see, but those are the concerns I have more is if they're gonna push their studios that were already stellar into doing things that they're not comfortable with. That could be
That's
a problem.
a good point. That's a good
Seems very
point.
much like what Don Matrick did and pushed people to make games that they didn't want to make, especially in that Connect
Lionhead,
era
anyone?
where they,
It's gone.
yeah, where they pushed
You know?
Rise into what was going to be a Connect game, and then finally they moved over and made it the great game that it was. But that's not what we want Sony to go. I mean, and welcome to the Jim Ryan version of the PlayStation. I'm sorry, but Sean Layden is still going to, in my opinion, is going to be sorely missed. And those those games that they used to make, that they used to take chances on, like say Bloodborne or 1987, those games, where are they?
1886, the order.
Yeah, where are those risks
Order,
that they're
yeah.
taking? Now we're just getting remakes and remasters and sad dad simulators, and looks like
it's
look, I
safe.
agree. Yeah, I agree with your point that only one of these games need to stick, because I mean, you just make an awful lot of money off these games as a service games.
Right. Right.
Is that the PlayStation fan base? Are they going to go to that? Because what I see PlayStation as is more of a single player experience. So when I jump into an Xbox party, I know all my friends are going to jump in with me. When I play on PlayStation, it's typically just to play those single player games, like Bloodborne, like Demon's Souls. And so I don't know if that fan base actually want this. And then bear in mind that people are massive creatures of habit. They've got to get over the fact that everybody's playing the newest Call of Duty, or everybody's playing Fortnite, or everybody's playing Apex. And that is a very, very difficult thing to do, because people have their niche and they stick to it. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to do that. I think the name recognition of The Last of Us, and if Factions ever gets off the ground, can really help, because it does have that name recognition. But it looks like what Sony's doing is moving their first party studios over to making those games that are service games, and then buying up third party IP like Stellar Blade, like Rise of the Ronin, like Silent Hill 2, and then surviving off the back of that. So we'll see if that strategy pans out. I don't think it's a good strategy personally.
So you could say that the player base is a monolith on any given platform, but I don't think that's true, because Splatoon is a multiplayer game and it took off on Nintendo, right? Though I suppose you could say Mario Kart always existed as a multiplayer thing, but
Smash, hold on,
right? And Smash, 100%, 100% Smash. But I think the thing that makes it more challenging is if you take an existing property, people don't necessarily associate that with a different kind of game. So I think that's actually more difficult to take. If you took God of War and made it a multiplayer game, I think that's going to be a harder sell than you just come up with a whole new thing. Like Apex just came out, right? A few years ago, it just came out and it hit. It took off, right? Because it was a cool gameplay mechanic, and it was a fun game loop that could go for a short amount of time and people could just jump in and play.
Yes.
Right? So that's kind of what you need to do. So I think it's better to just go to something new and try to make that into a live service game. Especially the problem you run into with live service is the constant updates needed, and it's harder to do when you have an established universe. It's much easier to do with something that's brand new. You just create whatever you want. There's nothing constraining you, right? So
Apex is built in the Titanfall universe, but
but it's all zany. Like nobody cared because Titanfall never took off. Right, so it wasn't a beloved property that somebody's like, "Oh my god, this mech looks wrong." Nobody cares. It just, you can do whatever you want with it.
But they also worked on Apex in the background, and so it was meant to just be, I think, like tagged on to Titanfall. But then when they felt like they had something special, they had something new, they then pushed extra funds into it, and so doing it fresh, doing it from scratch can also be detrimental as well. So, it can go, go either way.
So you guys have spoken about a gameplay loop. I've heard that mentioned a few times. That's the key thing to all of these games, especially the live service game, is the gameplay loop has to be amazing. When you're making these single story, over the shoulder, third party dash simulator. If the story is good enough, the story can carry the game. If the game looks good enough, the visuals could carry the game. But when you're talking about a live service game, it's all about the gameplay loop. That's why you can have games like Among Us that
100%.
take off. You know what I mean? That
Yep.
don't look like anything.
100%.
So even though we're making fun of Foam Stars could actually be amazing if the gameplay
Yep.
loop is right. And that's what Sony has to get. They gotta get that gameplay loop. If I was to remember the last time I played a Sony PlayStation game where the gameplay loop was, for me, amazing or phenomenal, I'd probably go all the way back to God of War 3 or probably Infamous, like stuff like that. Ever since that, or the first Horizon. The second Horizon for me was too long. I finished it, but it just dragged on too long. But that gameplay loop is what they got to do. And what universe do they have right now where they could do that? So I agree with the sentiment is that they got to bring something brand new, surprise us, and Sony has the talent to do it, guys. They do. So if they do it, good. If they're gonna keep playing it safe, if it's true what you're saying about Jim Ryan, that all he cares about is the money, then I don't see them doing it. They're probably gonna do something that they already have, and then try to disguise it as a live service game, and it'll fail.
Yeah, well,
Well, I mean, they bought Bungie. Marathon may take, right? And so we'll see. Hopefully that is a good game, right? We'll see how that goes.
My
Yeah.
thinking on this whole situation though is that the live service thing is a thing that's of the future for Sony. Like, and I don't think that's a bright future personally, because like Hargeet pointed out, not many of those are well received, and typically most of them fail. So I look at what they have ahead of them. Spider-Man 2 is absolutely going to do gangbusters. That's not a question, but that's not because of so much as Sony. So much of it is Insomniac being the top tier and Spider-Man being the most beloved hero in all of comics. So it's going to be Spider-Man. He's going to do well, right?
Yeah.
The thing though is what after that? What happens after the fact? So we have nothing really of a roadmap, and that's the beauty of Xbox versus Sony. When you look at it, Xbox, we got an idea. We got a strong inkling of what comes next. We have a good roadmap. They keep it clear and transparent on the Xbox side of things. PlayStation, not so much. You see about these games and that trash, showcase they had, unfortunately, and I don't think that inspired a lot of faith. If I was a PlayStation only type of gamer, I would not be happy with that.
Calls them a PlayStation only fan.
Yeah, right. I didn't even think about that.
That's
But
hilarious.
my thinking too is now though, what happens going forward. So my thinking is this: a lot of our Who's brothers are particularly faithful to Sony, and what I mean by that is even if these games are mediocre, even if they are not worthwhile, even if they are a drain on money because of microtransactions or et cetera, it's a good chance that some of our Who brothers are going to support it just because it's Sony. And that's one thing I will give the Sony faithful. Yeah. One thing I will give them.
Yeah.
They are faithful to a fault, and they will probably push a game that does not deserve to be pushed because they're going to support it as not to make it fail and not to make it look bad, because it's Sony. So I wonder how that's going to play out. I don't expect Sony to not have anything great coming next year or going forward. I know that Jim Ryan's motto rather is to have AAA bangers. That's his thing. He's they went away from the creative side with the lesser AA type games. That's not really their thing anymore. You saw, obviously, you guys mentioned what's the name of that game again? The AA that only sold like 500,000.
Returnal.
Returnal.
Yeah.
You saw Returnal, and not to be a pun man here, but the return on that was not as great, I'm sure, as they expected it to be. So I think that was probably one of the final nails for them in that coffin.
Have a
so
good
to speak.
return.
Yeah, there you go. So I think they're going to be aiming for more AAA titles, and that could be a detriment to them because, as we know, it takes so long to make these games. You know what I mean? So that's the problem for Sony, is they put themselves in a trap. So now they're going to have to rely on third party as they typically do. Mm-hmm. So I wonder just how long it's going to be before they start to cycle out games properly. I don't know if this was probably a strategic thing to delay games, if they needed it because of maybe COVID situations held them back and it finally hit them, where it hit Xbox harder, quicker.
No.
I wonder what goes to. You don't think so, huh?
No, I just
Yeah.
no with
I think
They were
COVID, man.
smart on them.
I mean, me and Pete had this conversation literally this week. You just cannot. I give you a year for COVID. That's all you get. You don't, and that's Microsoft, PlayStation, third-party developers. Like like, and I understand there was some talk about having to upload code and shift code and whether it's done in the cloud and all that sort of stuff. Look, it's you get a year for COVID. You get maybe 2 months for the setup. And then the other 10 months of just messing about trying to get your systems and your pipelines in order. And then from that point, you should at least have, your pipelines. So I give them a year, and I do the same for Xbox. So for me, that's not an excuse. I don't.
Yeah. No, I can hear that.
Maybe this
So,
year's.
Umbra, I give you I think you brought up another interesting point is like people have to buy these games, right? The beauty of the other side is if Microsoft makes any games as a service game, it doesn't matter. It's in Game Pass. If you want to try it, Sea of Thieves became a thing because it was the first big Game Pass game, and people just said, "What the heck? I'll try it." And some people liked it, and it just kept growing and growing and growing.
Great point.
Right? And if they don't decide to take advantage of that, they have like 50 million subscribers to theirs. Take advantage of it. Throw these games in there. Let people just try it in engagement, right? And see how it goes. But that's up to Sony to figure
genius.
out, right? It's up to PlayStation to decide to do it. But I don't think they will. I think they'll charge $70, and it won't go anywhere.
No, Hargy, that's it. You literally figured it out for them. They throw a live service.
I mean, what was that
into
game?
that subscription service. Everybody will play it.
Yep.
Yeah, and that'll bring
What's that
that'll.
car
all
racing
of them
game
will
that
play
they
it.
released? Destruction All Stars.
Destruction All Stars. Yep.
Yeah.
And they had to put that in their
Full
service.
price at launch.
Sure did.
Yep. It still
That's a good
failed. But
It still failed.
I don't think it was in from launch though, was it? I think it's in now.
I think it was, wasn't it?
You know what? I think it
Launch
was
was
too.
what?
No, it was 60. It was 60 at launch. It was a lesser price. It wasn't 70, but
Let me
Yeah.
see.
yeah. And
I
that
thought it was
tanked.
full price at launch, and then I think they were what no, it was very soon after, like 3 months once they saw the initial sales, they put it into their live service.
Yeah,
No,
look,
but the first live service game from Sony coming on a subscription service, I'm telling you, every single Hoof Brothers, like you said, will play it. I get that. There's just no way. They will definitely support it and play it.
oh yeah.
And that thing will do record numbers.
But will they?
Oh man.
Will they talk about it online?
Destruction All Stars
Because
will.
what we
It
get.
says here will debut in February in PS Plus.
Oh,
So
there you
it
go.
started in PS Plus. So
Okay.
it did start in PS Plus.
Oh, so it wasn't there.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I didn't. I thought it was full price, or not a full price, but a reduced price title. But yeah, if they do that, I mean, there might be some. It may work. It may not. The reason that I say it may work, it may not. It definitely work. I think on an Xbox side, but we know how generally PlayStation fans sort of feel about their service. Also, their service hasn't been pitched as that. Hasn't been pitched as day one games. So
Yeah.
you casuals aren't looking for day one games to sort of drop in there. So they would have to spin their messaging around, which they're great at. They're great at marketing. They do it well. So it's a definite. They could do it. It could be done, but will they do it? Well, I mean, I guess we'll see. We do have to move on to the next topic before we do. We've got a couple of super chats, and I wanted to say, guys, if you are new here, please hit the subscribe button. We go live 8 p.m. every Friday EST, and if you're in Australia, I think it's 10 a.m. Pete. Did I get it right? I don't know. I just live here. I don't know the times.
10 a.m., mate.
10 a.m. If you're in the
standard time, 8 a.m. If you live where Riskit lives.
8 a.m. if you're in WA, but no one's over here, so I'm all alone. Super chat. So Pyro Mad for the £5 super chat. Thanks, Pyro. You're an absolute champion. He said he tagged me in a tweet. Can Umbra send it to the Discord? Yeah, look, I think that Umbra was saying to me there that I'm pretty sure Sonic does eat chili dogs, right? So
Yeah, that's his style. It's chili dogs.
Yeah.
I think you might be reaching a bit on that one, brother. I think I commented on your tweet. It's a hot dog. Now that looks like a Chicago style, closer to a Chicago style hot dog that you posted. And Sonic eats chili dogs. So if they were really trying to hit it on the nose, she would have posted a chili dog, if anything.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. You always manage to get Chicago in there somehow. Well, it's good.
Yeah, you know.
Batman is not a superhero click, which is an odd name, but you probably get upset some people with that name. With a $5 super chat, he says Spider-Man 2 is going to flop under the weight of Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield, Diablo. It's an RPG year, and there's no room for swinging around. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be in the conversation this year. I mean, it might be in the conversation. I don't think it's a chance to win. So, yeah, I think you're probably right about that one. Doovy with the $2 super chat champion. He said, "Please hit that like, y'all." Thanks, Doovy, for the $2 super chat. You're an absolute champion. Going to move on to another topic. Look, there is a couple of PlayStation topics that I was saying in the green room to Doc before the show. I hate it when we don't have. Or we have too many PlayStation topics because we are an Xbox-centric podcast, but we got to talk about this one. Apparently, PS5s have been catching fire, and then people have been catching fire and dying in the street. No, that didn't happen. So at an EVO event earlier this week, apparently the USBs were melting out of the PlayStation ports. Now, there's a couple of things to sort of notice that I sort of put down here. There's reports from EVO. Competitors suggested that numerous PS5 consoles have experienced USB port failures and meltdowns due to lack of heat dissipation, caused concerns amongst attendees. The issue with the PS5 USB meltdowns at EVO appears to have been a widespread problem, with witnesses and photos supporting the claims. And we saw a few of those on Twitter this week. The ongoing problems with the PS5 USB ports overheating may lead organizers to consider using a different console or PC in the future. One thing to note is that PlayStation owns EVO. They run EVO. It's their event. They bought it, I think, back in 2021. So to not be able to use your console at your event, or even if they get it sorted, which they probably won't, or maybe this is what the PS5 Slim's all about, or the PS5 Fat, because it looks exactly the same. Then maybe that's what that's about. But to not be able to use your hardware or to have it melt at your own event.
Uh-oh.
Damn.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Is he gone?
Is he gone?
Oh, no, I'm
Are
still
you
here.
back?
I'm still here.
Okay, yeah.
Oh.
For some reason, we kind of lost you for a second there.
Maybe I clipped out. So, Hagit, I want to get your sort of take on this one. This is a quick one. We want to run through. This is a heat dissipation issue that we've had for a long time. We've seen with the PS5. We've seen them melt some of the liquid metal around the CPUs, even though it wasn't a widespread problem. This one obviously is a widespread problem, as well. They were running those machines, I think, for 3 days. So, but heat dissipation seems to be a bit of a problem, Huggy.
Yeah, and as these ones age, I just kind of look when this was coming out, when the PS5 was coming out, and they announced their performance targets. I had mentioned that I think these are going to, after 3 or 4 years, start to show signs of overclocking. In other words, they'll start having odd issues. And that's kind of what we're seeing now, right? Games come out, and some people, the game just shuts down their console because it's overheating. The ports on some of these consoles is melting the freaking USB cable. Look, this is it's overclocking is never guaranteed, and yet they decided to do that to try to match the performance levels of the 12T flops, which wasn't even necessary, but they did it, and now this is going to cause them some headaches. I don't know how many other issues there are. Hopefully they can figure this out as some sort of weird glitch on a handful of consoles. But to the point of running games for a long period of time, days on end, yeah, that's apparently not something they tested right. So here you go. Now, if this is going to be an issue for them, they really do need to allow others for EVO to just continue, right? They need to allow others. But as far as the hardware, yikes! If this causes more problems, it could be a lawsuit coming their way. But hopefully it's not that prevalent. But yeah, I had my concerns. The overclocking is never a great idea. And if they're gonna do that from the get-go, Microsoft decided we're doing locked clock for a reason. They decided to stick with what they had, and Sony decided to go try to match what Microsoft did. It was supposed to be about a 9.2 T flop, and they made it 10.3 and 3 gigahertz, and they made it 3.5. So it is overclocked. Those who don't want to believe it, it's overclocked, and that's what's causing all this. They made that massive heatsink to compensate, right? That thing is a massive behemoth console because of it. But it's just never a guarantee. And I would expect more of these kind of weird glitches to keep happening. As the console keeps going. Hopefully this new Slim handles it better. But we'll see what they do, right? I've had this concern that this is going to happen, so that's kind of my thought on it. It's not unexpected to me. So
Yeah, look, did the Xbox One overclock as well? Or did they add the VRAM? I can't remember, but there was no issues with that overheating. But you're
they
absolutely
never
right.
overclocked it. What they did was they took away performance that was locked to the Kinect and said, "Hey, we're going to take that and give it back to the games." Right? So they had taken an overhead of about 15%, something like that, to give that to the Kinect, and they said, "All right, we're just going to take that back, and we'll reassign it to the games instead." Right? And there was a
Yeah,
memory overhead as well that they gave to the games.
they definitely came in hot, the PS5 this generation, and when they realized the
Yeah.
No
benefit
pun intended.
when they realized the benefit Xbox was going to have on them, that they had to do something, and that they went to is to overclocking. And you're right, Hage. It's why they put that ridiculously big heatsink in there. I mean, the amount of copper in every
Yeah.
PS5 must have cost them a fortune, and something that I'm
Yep.
sure that they were pretty unwilling to do. And then I think they did a little bit more testing, and then they reduced the amount of copper. They reduced that heat sink, but they still got that liquid metal paste. They've still got a ridiculously big heat sink in there. The system itself is quite large. You need to have it like set up a certain way. I think if you have it vertically, it's worse, or if you have it horizontally, it's worse. I can't quite remember which way it is, but I mean, this was gonna be an issue. And I think the sooner they get a slim out that's redesigned, the better. I think they need to work around these issues. And I'm not going to say it's happening to everybody, but if there is a class action suit, this could cost them a hell of a lot of money. And, I don't want that for them. I want everybody to be successful. But I think it's an issue that they've brought onto themselves. But what do you think, Doc? Do you think this is a big problem, or do you think it's Twitter blowing things out of proportion again?
No, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem. The same way when people started complaining when the Asus ROG Ally was melting SD cards, right? That's clearly a flaw in the design. And I have an Asus ROG Ally, and I love it, but I'm not putting an SD card in it just yet. And they had to do a BIOS update and all that other stuff. We have mentioned now two separate issues of this console having to do with heat, and no one can deny this. What was the game that was turning PlayStations off? Was it the Final Fantasy game? Was that the game that was turning PlayStations
It
off?
was
Several
it
have.
was, it was Final
Several.
Fantasy
Returnal was
several,
causing it.
I was going to say
right?
several of them did
Oh,
that.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. So you see, so obviously there is a problem with heat, and now during the events, like you said, it's their event, right? People are in there playing these fighting games and everything, and it's doing that as well. Like, no, there's a problem with it. But anyone that bought a PlayStation as soon as it came out, the same way as if you bought an Xbox or if you buy an Asus ROG Ally or anything, first adopter of something, you inherently are going to get the more flawed version of it. Even Nintendo did it, right? Nintendo dropped their Nintendo Switch, and then they came out with the Red Box Switch, which had a little bit was a little bit better, whatever. So it's inherent in when you are a first adopter to something. I have a PS5 as well. I don't know if you guys have it, but my PS5 has that thing called coil wind. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but you can actually hear my PS5. Now I looked it up. Apparently that's something. Some of them get it, some of them don't. My Series X is extremely silent. Like I can't hear this thing at all, okay? To the point where actually last night I accidentally left it on. I forgot to turn it off, and I just fell asleep. I couldn't hear it. If I have my PS5 running, especially if I'm playing a game, depending on what I'm doing, I can hear it. I can hear the fan kicking on and all that other stuff. So obviously there's something there as far as the engineering of this console. And the games are only going to get harder to run. The games are only going to become more in-depth, right? So I'm curious to see how this first batch of PlayStations hold up. Hopefully they do hold up well, though. And hopefully overclocking is usually never good.
The
I
thing
agree.
I've talked about, this must be the patented, Cerny 4D technology because they're playing Street Fighter, so they're throwing Hadoukens and fireballs and stuff like that. So it's emulating that in real life. You see what I'm saying?
Ah, right. Yes.
They want to bring you into the experience.
Thanks to Pelpy.
That's hilarious.
Having a problem vertically, so yeah, it's vertically, and the problem is the liquid metal is dripping down. So thank you, Pelpy. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, guys.
So the thing is this, really, in actuality,
I see something in the chat too. Somebody in the chat, P3 Tran, he said me too. He also has that coil wine thing. Yeah, that's the thing out there, guys, where you can hear the PlayStation 5.
The thing I like to say and point out though is when you have a case of crow, right? When people have to eat crow, and it seems that our Hoove brothers have eat a lot of crow lately. You remember Austin Evans? Does everybody remember Austin Evans?
Yep.
You remember when he put out that video talking about how the new model? You all remember that, right? How
it'd be better if you remove more. Yeah.
Oh man, our Hoove brothers got on that guy's case. They doxed him, everything, all because he told the truth of what he saw with the new PS5 models. And he was talking about how the new thermal images that he picked up showed, because of the reduced heat sink, showed that it was hotter, it ran hotter. Now, this proves him correct here. We've also had other people come out and say it, but this goes to his point right here. And we're seeing that come to fruition right there before our eyes, I believe. Now, I'm not the biggest tech guy, so I couldn't be like, oh, it is this and it's that. But listen, you had more than a few people, him in particular, that came out and said that it's the heat sink and it's causing this issue. So I wonder then, how many more issues are we going to see of that? But I think that's why they're putting the expedited rush on us hearing. That's why we're hearing such rumors of the PS5 Pro and all of that. Maybe they're trying to push people off of the newer model PlayStation to get to the Slim and such. You know what I mean? That's my thinking.
Yeah, I mean, look.
What if the PS5 Pro is mostly cooling? Can you imagine that?
To the overclock, though, I do want to say if that's going to obviously affect the life of your console. But if PlayStation had always planned to bring a Pro, and had always planned to bring a Slim, that could be something that actually works to their advantage. It's not consumer friendly, but I mean, I don't think PlayStation's been accused of being consumer friendly since back at the beginning of the PlayStation 4 era. So, I mean, this I don't want to say it's on purpose, but this may be something that they knew about.
Damn, Jim Ryan got him again.
Yeah, you keep clipping, bud.
Yeah, but Riskit, I mean, I still had my 360, and it still's run perfectly well. I mean, people hold on to their consoles for years. I mean, I've still got my Super Nintendo. If I had that adapter, I would still be able to use it. It's amazing how long people hold on to their consoles for. So regardless, if they're bringing out a Pro and they're going to fix these issues, I still foresee it being a problem going on into the future.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, no one wants to buy a console and then have the thing shit itself within, a couple of years. So, I mean, yeah, there is that. Obviously, that's what you want from your console. You don't want to spend all that money and then expect it to drop out in 2 to 3 years. But I don't for the business itself. If you need more sales, it's obviously going to help your sales if your PS5, unless they lose trust and they come to Xbox and play COD on Game Pass. We do have to move on to the next topic.
I mean, that's a good one, right? But it is funny to mention 360 since that console did exactly that. It did fail miserably. The Red Ring of Death.
That is true.
But anyway.
Yeah,
that's so true. I had 7 of them, so trust me, I know.
I actually never got the Red Ring of Death. I had 3 of the original ones that they had the problem on, and I never got one Red Ring of Death. I was so lucky. And then at the end of the generation, I think I bought 2 more, and I've still got one of those. Because there's 360 games that you can't get on, that you couldn't get on Xbox One, that don't work backwards compatibility. So I've still got them all on disc. I'm gonna keep them forever.
Yeah, look, I had 2 of them,
cool.
And mine didn't fail probably till about it was well out of warranty when it failed, and they still replaced it. So that sort of goes to the consumer friendliness of Xbox. Before we do move on to the next topic, please hit that like button. If you're long-time supporters, it does help out the show. If you're new here, subscribe. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. Apparently, it's 10 a.m. over in the east of Australia. And if you're in WA, no one cares because no one's here. But it's 8 a.m. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. Forza I did want to jump to this. I sort of threw this one on the topic. It only just happened real recently. I did want to talk about the missing features from Forza and Monad. If you're in the chat there, he's probably listening in. This is a bit disappointing, and it's definitely so. We got to give them the smoke, man. When they deserve the smoke. These are legacy features that have been within Forza for well, I wouldn't say the dawn of Forza, but for quite some time. So it's missing a spectator mode. You aren't able to race with AI in multiplayer. And I believe that, I mean, obviously the guys you're racing against will be AI, but I think what they're talking about there is when you ghost other players, like you do in Forza 5, there's other players you can sort of time trial against. I think that's what it is. I'll do a bit more research while we're talking on that. And then the big one that we're going to hear about on Twitter. Maybe I'll just shut down my Twitter for the day. Split screen is not available. Not that, and again, to Umbra, I know where Umbra's going to go with this one. Is anyone really going to be playing split screen? Probably not, right? Probably not. That's. But still, it definitely goes to the questions that we have around the Series S being able to manage split screen. And I think maybe you could say that Umbra predicted this. What happens when it happens in the next game? But
Right.
But here's the thing, right? So I had this conversation's been going on within the community for quite some time. So my thing is, and I just think that people sort of need to understand when it comes to Larian's made that decision to make sure that their game has split screen. They will not release without it. I don't think Xbox can convince them. On the other side of the fence, Xbox has made...
No, that's not true.
Whoa!
That's not true. No, that's not true. The game is out on Steam Deck without split screen.
Right?
It's not a them thing. It's a Xbox thing.
Yeah, but you ain't gonna play
Steam Deck. On Steam Deck,
you ain't gonna play split screen on
parity.
You ain't gonna play fucking split screen on Steam Deck. Come on. What's
and
that?
You ain't gonna play split screen on the Series S, but I can't play the game either because I got a Series X. No, this is the problem.
Hey, Doc, I said all of this last week, and some people were mad at me for saying it, man.
No, listen, we just got on Sony. We just got on Sony. Xbox could get a little bit of smoke because this is crazy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But
how you gonna release one of your biggest games, Forza? How you gonna release one of your biggest games that have features missing? You already did it with Halo.
Yeah.
How you gonna do that again?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, great.
How do you do this? How do you allow this to happen?
Yeah.
Get rid of the damn Series S.
Doc is passionate.
You know, listen. No, I'm gonna tell you something. Nintendo already showed Xbox what to do. Nintendo has something called a Nintendo Switch Lite. And there's games that you can't play because you bought the Nintendo Switch Lite. Those consumers understand. I bought the cheaper Switch Lite. There's certain games you can't play 1-2 punch on the Nintendo Switch Lite so they don't have console parity. If Nintendo could do it, why can't Xbox do it? Why am I being punished? Why can I not play Baldur's Gate 3 because the S can't run it? That makes no sense. I'm being punished for a console that I did not purchase. And now this is the problem now, okay? Xbox won't admit it, but I bet you they could probably get split screen running on the Series X. They probably couldn't get it running on the S. I bet you Halo could have probably had co-op split screen on the Series X. But the S probably couldn't do it.
Oh no, the S could do it. The S could do it because they had it running on a 1. You could break the game and then get into co-op split screen on Halo Infinite. I think it was Digital Foundry that did it, and they did test it on the base Xbox One, and it worked. So I don't know what was going on there. Maybe there was obviously bigger bugs as you move through the game, but they did do a test and it did run. This is what I'll say to you, and this has been my contention the entire time. So obviously we're going to have this conversation, and I'm sure Umbra will jump in a minute. But what I'm going to say is, I understand.
That's right. Cut him off. Cut him off, Jim. Cut him off, Jim.
I understand.
Jim said, don't talk that BS. Jim said.
I understand why Xbox is making this decision from their business perspective. And the reason being is if they shift the line, so they've already pitched the Series S as you don't lose any features other than fidelity, right? That's what they pitched. That's what they sold this console on, right? So as a business, they're like, shit, we fucked up here. And we still need to hold to what we sold this damn thing on, right? So if we move this line for Larian, then we're going to have to move the line anytime a developer comes to us and says the S has given us trouble, or there's going to have to be a conversation. And I don't think these are conversations that as a business you want to have. You want to be like, nah, this is our line. We're holding the line. Hold the line. So yeah, that's sort of my that's my take on it. I think that Xbox is holding the line, but I'm sure that Umbra's got something to say about this.
Well,
Oh,
hey,
I like your
I
take,
don't
but
know
your
if
take
we
is
should
wrong.
start this
Listen.
conversation.
No, his take is wrong. We can have a conversation now. It's getting spicy now.
Doc, you said everything I said, but much more passionately. I'll just tell you that.
No, let me tell you, because they promised a lot with the S. The S was not a
Yeah.
1080p console. Let's not pretend like it was.
Listen, my
The
thing.
S was not a
This is
1080p.
my
It was a
thing, though, Doc.
1440p console.
But this
60
is my thing,
frames.
Doc. Hear me out on this, right? So my thing is, I'm not so much trashing the S as I am the decision of the parody. And me and Hargy have talked about this behind the scenes.
That's fair.
I agree with you that I don't think it's a Larian decision. I think it's the parody thing. And if
Correct.
and Hargeet made a good point. Riskit actually said it live last week after I listened back to the podcast. My thought was, listen, just delay it on the S, the split screen, and then patch it in later, because most people are not going to play split screen on the S or on the X on any game. Really, it's just not going to happen. Most people are not going to do that. And
Right.
but Hargeet made a good point, and Brisket made a good point. They said, well, just delay it on both consoles, and that way you don't have to worry about, oh, well, this has it, but this one doesn't. And I think that would make the most
don't
sense.
delay it on. I paid $500.
Yeah,
No, not delay the game.
not the game, not
No,
the game.
no, I want
co-op.
all the features. I want all the features. I
Oh,
want
you-
all the features.
Yeah, no, I don't
If
think
my
that's gonna
console
happen.
could do all the features, I paid the $500. Give me all the freaking features.
I hear you. I
Come
hear
on
you,
now.
brother. But I feel look at it
That's
like
like,
this.
you know what
Look
that's
at it
like?
a middle- look at it like
hold
a
on,
middle
hold
way.
on. You got me going now. You got me going now. That's like them. No,
Yeah,
listen,
Doc,
that's
go,
like
bro.
them.
I like
that's
do
like-
that.
Listen, that's like them releasing the game and saying,
Mhm.
hey, you know what? Since the S can't have a physical copy because it doesn't have a disk drive, we're not going to make a physical copy for the X. That makes no sense.
No, I listen.
I got to.
I'm with you, but then
Give me the
think about
features
it
that
like
I paid
this.
for.
Think about it like, now I'm with you now, right? Listen, I made this argument now. I wasn't as
You
passionate
want me to
about
think
you.
about everybody else but myself. You want me to think about everybody else but
No,
myself.
but I'm looking at it like this. If their thing is going to be the argument of parity, and you can't do that because it's going to make the S look inferior in many
It
ways.
is
It's already
inferior.
Absolutely. So my thing is, though, I hear you with all the bells and whistles, but you're not going to use the feature, right? So what would it matter to you if they don't put it on both? You see what I mean?
Are
It's
you
a
gonna?
small thing to give up. So delay it on both,
Hold on,
patch it
when
in
I
later,
go to
release the
Taco
game
Bell
now.
and I tell them, give me mild, give me hot, give me extra hot. I don't use all the sauces, but I like having them.
I don't do that.
I go to Starbucks, I tell them,
Don't
hey,
do
give me
that.
extra sugar on the side. I don't use it all.
Oh, you just wasteful. I see.
No, I just like to
Yeah.
have the features.
Yeah, you just wasteful.
Just in
Yeah.
case.
You about to make me start sounding like an Asian mother. in here. You wasteful. You're so wasteful.
Oh man!
You realize I have 8 Xbox controllers. I only have 2 hands.
Yeah, but listen.
I have 3
Listen.
Elite
This is the
Series
thing. Like,
controllers. I
so,
only got 2 hands.
so you're being. I understand what you're saying, but you're coming from a, I paid, I did. But see, Xbox as a business has to worry about all of us, not just one of us.
Yep.
Like, and so
Yeah.
as a
The
business,
majority of consoles are the X.
No. See, this is where they're tricking you. They don't care about all of us. They don't care about the Series X owner. The Series X owner this generation is getting screwed. They literally promoted Starfield on a TV.
Yeah.
There's someone out there that if they got good enough internet is going to be able to play Starfield, maybe as good as I play it, and I invested in a $500 console. That's BS. They don't care about the Series. What you tell me that the Series X right now is worth an extra $200 from the base Series S? How? It's not. But this right here, this Baldur's Gate would have been proof like, oh no, the Series X is really the one that you really want because you won't have to wait on stuff like that. But the fact that they're
thing, though. They
delaying
don't wanna have
games,
that, right? They want to say if you have
Right.
a 1080 TV,
so they don't care.
you
So
get
they
an
don't
S.
care about. So don't say they care about all of us. They don't care about all of us. They care about cloud gaming. They care about PC gamers. They care about the subscription service gamer. The Series X console gamer is the least of the. When's the last time you saw a Series X commercial? They don't even promote that console. People don't even know that console exists. These are all facts. I know. I know.
Yeah, but ultimately, like the Series S
PlayStation
is
is
the
still
majority
melting.
console,
PlayStation
right?
is still
So-
melting. Hold on. We gotta make it back green. PlayStation is still melting. But yes.
You know, and all these are fair points. And as a consumer, you can be annoyed about it. That's fair, right? But ultimately, it's up to Larian to come up with the game they want to and put out the game they want to. And they chose not to compete with Starfield. They chose not to try to put their resources on the smaller install base, and that's fair for them, right? They want to go to PC first. That's that's their bread and butter. That's where they've been, right? And on PlayStation next because it's got the bigger install base. That these are all fair things. It is what it is, right? As far as Forza, split screen, I don't care as much, but it is a good thing to have. And if it's something they can pull off, they should. But these days, like, everybody's got a console, so you can just play online. It was a much bigger deal to me when you couldn't do online and you wanted to play with friends, and you kind of needed split screen. That was like the only way to do it. But since the advent of online, it's like I don't necessarily care. You could just get another console, even that Series S. You could just play it.
So I want to mention
No, you
something.
did not.
We didn't quite get into the topic right here because Riskit, I don't think you quite announced what the topic was. I did.
I was talking
about the Forza situation.
Yeah, we're talking about
the
Forza.
split screen on Forza. That's what I'm talking about. The split screen on Forza. That's what I'm talking about. And then the racing with AI thing in featured multiplayer, which I don't even know. Like, I don't play Forza enough to know what featured multiplayer is, but interesting. They're trying to explain it away. AI generally takes up a lot of CPU. I'm guessing this is just tough to do with the CPU limitations to try to get that ray tracing plus 60 if they can pull it off, right? So I'm guessing that's why. And spectator mode, I don't understand why that would be a big deal, but they just don't want to do it. And it's like, okay, I don't know. Maybe they just don't want to put the resources on it, but like, it doesn't seem like it's that big a deal to just be able to watch somebody play. I don't know how that's an issue, but whatever, right? Like, that's not the end of the world to me.
Yeah. So what's going on? I mean, we had this concern. We talked about this earlier in the, when they didn't talk about Forza. I think it was before that direct, or it was one of their shows. We were like, well, where was Forza? What's going on here? People were talking about this, and there was a conversation about like, how is this game struggling in development? And it sort of seems like it is, and it's the S's fault. God damn! No, look.
Facts. Oh, okay.
It could be, right? We don't know
It
yet.
could be that.
It could be. I don't know if it isn't the opposite issue,
I need
though.
to know what racing with AI and featured multiplayer means. Didn't they make a big deal about that Drivatar thing? So when you're racing in multiplayer events, they have you racing against your friends, and it basically just copies and whatever, like, how good you are, and they'll round you up with your friends at a similar level, and so that Drivatar is actually your friend driving the track, but they've put it through. So is that still going to be a feature, but they're just not having AI there now? Because I don't mind that. I actually prefer to race, against my friends, even if they're not actually there, like just virtual versions of them. Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah,
this is specific to this featured multiplayer. I don't know. Do you guys know what that is?
I have no idea.
Say what?
All I know is that I'm not getting it.
I think the featured multiplayer is the main multiplayer that allows you to either spectate or race against AI that you could jump in and out of. Like, you can jump in a already started race and something like that. That's what I believe it is.
So here I found an article on it. Featured multiplayer is a live, real-world, time-based mode of predefined live events designed to have the feel of a real-world race weekend, with races scheduled to begin at specific real-world times. This new online racing mode consolidates the Hoppers and Leagues mode from the previous games. Featured multiplayer has spec events for different car divisions like GT cars, LMP1 cars, and touring cars, open class, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so essentially these are special events, right? So I guess that's what this is about.
Yeah.
That actually sounds pretty cool.
I'll say one thing. I'll say one thing in defense of the S. Yeah,
What?
the S outsells the X 70 to 30. So there's more people that have an S out there. If you get rid of parity, that means the people that have the S are going to feel left out. So I don't know how you play it. I don't know if you just get rid of split screen altogether, because you have to have parity, because the people that bought an S can't feel that they have lost out on something. So I don't care if you get rid of it altogether. You cannot leave them behind.
But see, that's my argument.
Think
though,
about
Pete.
it. No, just
Yes,
look.
you can. They pay $200.
Think about it this way: the more people that have an S, the more people that have an Xbox console in total will mean that the more people will buy games, the more people that will have Game Pass, and the more money that will be spent on games that will be made for all versions of Xbox.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, most people, again, we go back to the features. I mentioned it before, and I stick by it.
Mhm.
These features, the split screen stuff, most of us are not playing that.
Yeah.
Risk, you did a poll on it last week, and you saw it even live. And some people were in the chat like, "No, I want split screen," and it still didn't bear out for them. So I'm not saying this to discourage anybody who likes it. I know Eric Reed, for instance, is one who likes it, right? But the thing of it is because he likes it for Baldur's Gate, he's planning on doing it. My thing is, though, most are not doing that. So I don't think there's a real chance of those on the S that are going to feel left out if you don't have split screen, because for the simple fact that most won't be playing and using that feature. That's my thing. So the most reasonable way is to delay that feature on both consoles and just put out the game day and date with PlayStation. Now, somebody asked, why would you want to put that out when Starfield is going to be put out? Of course, that's why I think that it's a bit of shadiness to Larian, because it seems odd, right? That you just happened to put the game out on PC a month ago or whatever, or believe beginning of this month rather. And now all of a sudden, September 6th, you were pushed to release that. That's very odd timing to put it
I
right
think it's
on
brilliant.
the
I think it's brilliant, right?
It's brilliant, but
they're going to have
odd, right?
PlayStation players buying that to counter
Absolutely.
Starfield. It's like,
And that-
hey,
I don't
money
think
in their
that
pocket. I
happenstance.
get it.
It's not happenstance. Let's just put it like that, right?
Oh, no, it's totally calculated.
Absolutely. So my thinking is, okay, cool. But if you're saying why put it on the same time Starfield is going to release, well, not everybody is going to play Starfield. Some people might prefer to play Baldur's Gate 3.
Right.
I'm not one of them, but I'm just saying there are some people who
we
might
all
prefer
play
that.
Starfield.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's going to be on Starfield,
Everybody
right?
playing Starfield. Yeah,
But
yeah.
most of us are, I imagine, but I'm sure there are some who are like my buddy. He's still on BG3. He's not moving off of that to get to Starfield. You see what I mean? So there are some options.
Crazy,
Is always
dude.
the
It's so
positive
many
thing. Way too many. So my thing is, though, it goes back to what is best for the overall. And I'm with Doc on where I said the same thing, Doc. I don't want to feel as an Xbox Series X owner where I bought the premium console that I have to be delayed on the release of a game because the S has to be figured out. That doesn't sit well with me. It just doesn't.
Right.
So let me give you a little bit of a counter, and I don't disagree with you, Doc, but I'm going to give you a bit of a counter,
It
right?
sounds like you're about to disagree.
No, I'm going to give you a reason why it's interesting to think about it differently, right? So we buying a console, we all have enough money to buy whatever we want, so we can buy the high-end console and expect high-end features, right? But if you're a kid, generally you're going to get the cheaper console because that's what your parents are going to buy you. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't want the features, right? So you want to play the game, the way it should be played, and not be told, oh no, your parents bought you the wrong one. That's bad for the kid, but then also just puts more pressure on the parents. It's better to say, hey, this is an Xbox console. It has all the things that the Xbox is supposed to be able to do, and you won't get complaints, right? So I'm just trying to put a different perspective on this. The S is probably the one that most parents buy their kids, or is a secondary console.
He's gaslighting me right now.
I'm just putting in a different perspective.
He's gaslighting me right now.
Right?
I got kids.
Exactly. And if you had to buy one for your kids, would you give them the X or the S? And it's probably
my kid has an S. Yes, he does.
Exactly.
So you want to leave your
Because
kid?
he don't have a job. He don't have a job.
100%. 100% agree. 100% agree.
Daddy gets the X.
So
Dad gets the X.
So then you want
So because his console, he over there laughing at me. He's over there laughing at me.
So you want to leave the kids behind?
I'm just trying to.
Are you saying?
Yeah.
Leave the kids
I
behind.
think the kids will want to play. And of
He's saying
all the
F them
things,
kids. That's what he said.
and of all the things, the feature of split screen is probably the most relevant to children, right? Because you have siblings, you all want to play together on the same box, right? I'm just pointing out these little
these
things,
kids are
right?
not playing Baldur's Gate 3 together.
Maybe, and that's an interesting point too.
No. Actually,
that's a very interesting
this
point.
game's not for kids. This game's not for kids.
100% agree.
Isn't it rated M? Isn't this game rated M?
That game, because it's so ridiculously not for kids, right? I mean, this
game's not for kids.
Very much not for kids. And it's like, well, okay, so then what's your target for this split screen thing? A husband, wife?
Two grown men sitting next to each other.
Roommates?
What?
Like, seriously, couldn't they just buy two consoles?
Right, exactly.
So, Forza, I could see that, right? That one, okay, if you split screen kids are playing, fair enough, right? But for Larry, come on, Baldur's Gate 3 is so ridiculously adult.
Hold on, guys, we gotta stop it. We gotta be honest with this right now, okay? I'm sure you guys all remember playing GoldenEye and playing Perfect Dark
Oh,
on a
yeah.
small
Oh,
TV
yeah.
in a little square, right?
Sticking
And
cardboard on the
somehow we
screen.
figured it out,
Yeah.
and somehow we figured it out, and we had fun with it. Okay, have you actually sat down and tried to play split screen now with somebody? I played It Takes Two with my son, split screen, on a 42-inch TV. Okay, it was horrible. The game was great, but playing split screen was horrible. Like, who is really out here trying to play split screen when you could just, hey, you go upstairs, you play in your room, we'll put our headsets on and we'll play. Right now, my kid is in Illinois. We're just playing Halo right before we got on the podcast. I actually streamed it on my Twitch channel, right? So that's the way we play. He has his full screen that he gets to play on. I got my full screen that I get to play on, and it's beautiful. And if we do that in a house, it's not uncommon. That's the beauty of the Series S, is that it's so cheap that you can buy 2, you can buy 3. So
You're
why
a gamer, bro.
split screen?
You're a gamer, bro. Like, so there are a lot of people that are not as privileged as we are, and I did the same thing, bro. So I set it up so I had two TVs side by side. I got a 75-inch TV on one side and a 70-inch TV on the other side, and everyone had their own console. And sweet, I'm a fucking gamer. But what happens with those kids that are underprivileged, like when their parents are struggling to get them like one S for Christmas, and they want to have and they still only have one TV, and you want to race against your brother or your sister or your mate, when he comes back over from school.
Oh,
I don't want to
see.
lose
Okay.
that. I don't want to lose that feature.
I got you. This podcast needs a new theme song. You need a new theme song. The new theme song of this podcast is going to be like, "We are the world. We are the children." This is what you got. If they can't afford it, they can't afford it. Damn it. That's life.
There's a choice we're making.
Look, look. So let me jump in. Let me jump in here and just like say this. So look, we did get to disagree on the whole S thing, but what we can all agree on, I think, well, I've been sitting back like listening, and what I think we all agree on is the S is a problem going forward. We all know that. So how the fuck does Xbox move forward? Like with this problem attached like a ball and chain to their foot, what do they do now? Like, do you stop supporting the S? Do you bring the console there? Here's the thing that I think that they need to do. I think it's the only thing they can do. Instead of launching a mid-gen refresh, I'm just saying if it's in the 8 years, within the 8 years, it is a refresh. But they launch a new generation, right? And then they leave the S behind that way. That's the only thing I can see them doing to fix this fucking problem, because we haven't, I mean, as Umbra put it succinctly earlier in the week, like it's been, I think, 6 to 7, possibly even 8, like legit problems have been raised by developers where and chat, look, I know you guys we have to be honest here, man. We got to give Xbox the smoke they deserve. The S has become a problem. What do they do now? What do they do?
We talked about this, Riskit, during the week,
Okay,
didn't we?
what did your poll
thought
say?
that the best way going forward is maybe like shortening this generation entirely, because if you bring out a Pro or an X2 or whatever the fuck you want to call it, then you then going to have to make for 3 SKUs, which is going to make development even more tough going forward. So I don't think that's the right answer. And so then what do? Then you shorten the generation, you learn from your mistakes, and then I still think having a lower tier console is a good idea. I think the more people, especially with Game Pass, I think the more people that can get their hands onto a console, the better. But then just don't reduce that memory so much next time. Learn from your mistakes going forward. Still have a cheaper version where the GPU isn't quite as strong, but don't fuck with that memory as much. But I mean, I think that's what we both thought was a good idea going forward.
Well, look, no, I don't think so. I think drop the S like a hot potato. I really do think the next generation, don't make that cheaper console. But if they do that, and look, Pete, we did talk earlier in the week, and as I responded to that, you've got to develop for 3 SKUs. You make a new console generation, you're developing for the last SKUs that you had for a set amount of time. That's always going to happen. That's always going to be a problem. That's a thing they're going to have to do regardless. But if you are going to pitch an S in the next generation, pitch the S as what Doc was saying, like with the Switch Lite. It doesn't play all games. it's a good entry console. It's not going to keep up with its bigger brother. I think that's the only way they could do it. Like,
You get rid of parity.
yeah, I think in the next generation, you can't do it this generation. It's too late. They've already pitched it a certain way. As much as I know Doc would love it, but you can't. They cannot do it as a business. That would be
what was your poll? Can you look at your poll? What did people say? You asked, do they own an S? What was the results of the poll?
It's about 12 inches. Oh, the poll.
42% yes, 58% no.
Yeah.
58% no. So what happens to all of us? All the ones that bought the X? We're just screwed? We're just screwed, guys?
Can you play games? I mean, like, I don't know. Like you
No, I
also
can't.
mentioned that,
No,
right?
I
You
can't.
can
I can't play
games,
Baldur's
but-
Gate 3. No, I can't. I can't play Baldur's Gate 3.
Well, you will eventually. It'll come there eventually.
What's the release date?
I have no idea.
Exactly. You don't know that.
Baldur's Gate 3 is a little bit of a diamond in the rough, I think. I think the size of that game and the fact that it has legacy
but now it's
screen, and always has. I don't know if this is going to be as big as an issue as it was, like, because there was a brand new GDK at the start of the generation. I think people haven't really learned how to optimize for both the S and the X yet. We're just learning that now. I think we need the coalition and then see what, Turn 10's going to produce with Forza Motorsport going forward to see if it is going to be an issue. Now, we don't know, like, at the end of the day, if split screen was dropped because of the S. We just don't know that. I mean, they could have done it for other factors. They said that they didn't. So, okay, I'm going to take them at their word and say that they wanted to implement other features, that's why they didn't do split screen, then they wanted to focus on other things, and you never know, it might be, changed going forward. But, so, like I said, I'm going to take them at their word. Do you foresee it being a massive issue going on into the future? I don't see it. I think that Matt Booty is right, that people will smooth over the edges.
No. It's definitely there's an issue going forward. Like we didn't think we'd see it. Like, okay, so me and Umbra had a very long conversation on this, and it went back and forward for a bit, right? And I was on the side that, like, you definitely cannot take away parity right now. It can't be done. Like, from a business perspective, it would just be, like, devastating to the business's messaging to say, hey, now the S is right. But we've now seen it more. And Umbra pointed out as one of his points. We've seen it now like six. I think it's six, but I think it's more like 8 times now. And then if you include this new news that we've gotten, and I didn't think we'd see it early, this early. I didn't think you'd see his point proved out. And I have to say, Umbra was correct on this. Is that, what happens when it becomes a first party game? What happens when it becomes the next big game that we do want to play? And it's already happened. Like, I mean, sure, you cannot say that, hey, Pete, I completely agree. We cannot definitively say that this is the S. Like, we don't know. Like, we don't know that for sure. But you can make a pretty good guesstimate that this may be the S causing a problem. Split screen seems to keep showing up as an issue. Like, every time we have a split screen head. Every time. Yep. So what do they do here? Like, do they just dump split screen for the platform completely? Xbox can't do split screen. Like, what do you do?
So the assumption here is that the CPU is the limiter, right? And if the CPU is the limiter, that's actually going to affect the X more than it's going to affect the S. So it probably is not the S in the case of split screen. It's probably the X. Now, like, if you want to, consider that, like, it's just a graphics issue, trying to get 60 FPS at full ray tracing with 4K is a lot of computational headache, right? So you might just be running into that being the problem. So I don't know that it necessarily is the S that's causing this for Forza. For Larian, it's something a little different, but they just haven't figured out how to use the S and X yet, and that's fine. They'll get there, and we'll get that game. But as far as this, I don't know that it's just the S. I think they want to get that 4K 60 ray tracing, and to do that, they're foregoing other features. So I think that's probably where they're stuck, because we have not seen that yet. We have not seen 4K 60 ray tracing.
Are they trying to do 4K 60?
Wait, so you were saying that the S is going to have the issue, whether it's the split screen is going to S in?
A higher edition to do 4K ray traced at 60 FPS. That's a lot of computational overhead. And the CPU delta on the S and the X is very minimal. There's actually more overhead available on the S than there is on the X, because it doesn't have to calculate as much. 4K pixels is a lot of
Way above my
pixels.
pay grade.
So that could be the headache. And I don't know because I've not seen it
don't see that being
show
the
me
case.
4K 60 ray tracing yet.
Yeah,
right?
I agree
So-
with you on the 4K ray tracing thing. Like ray tracing, I know people get, ray tracing. To me, that the thing is just more of a buzzword at this point. You don't bother with it because I don't think these consoles can handle it well. But my thing is, as far as
Fair enough, but they made the bloody promise.
they did,
right? And
that's part
been
of the problem. Exactly.
If they just
But
never said
by the
anything,
way,
we would have been okay.
I agree with you, and I say this: that's more reason why, Pete, you're going to be giving your knees up again, because I believe, me and Riskit believe.
Wait a
that they're gonna
minute.
have a mid-gen. Wait. Let me rephrase that.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
He's going to donate his knees because he lost the bet. Basically, they're going to have a
There
mid-gen
was-
refresh. I see it happening.
It was a video by Digital Foundry where they said they'd reiterated again there would be no mid-gen refresh this
Yeah.
year.
I
It was
mean, we
this
don't
week.
know,
This
but I would
year.
guess not.
Said this
And
year.
then I would also
week,
recommend them
sorry.
not to bring out a new gen early. They would become way behind the PS6 when it does come out. So they kind of have to just ride it out. It is what it is, right? This gen is going to be whatever it is, and they can
Yeah.
learn from it. But I don't think they should bring
So-
it out early. They should bring it out close to whenever the PS6 comes out.
Hargeet, I wanted to sort of say that Steel Rain, you're exactly right. I was going to jump in and sort of grab Pete to come back in again. It's not actually the CPU, and I don't think it is the X. It's the limited RAM
Oh.
on the S. That's the problem.
CPU's the same.
Yeah, CPU is exactly
Do we
the same.
know that?
Yeah, we do know. We do know
It's
that
just
the
close.
limited RAM is a
Close.
problem. We know the limited RAM is a problem because it's been said by id. That's a first party studio. Larian said that that's the issue. And we
It's
also
also the IO throughput.
Well, but the issue is
yeah,
generally
said
that
it too.
the
Yeah.
textures have to be smaller, right? And you'd have to start using some of the velocity architecture features, right?
Mhm.
Because you can't just put everything in memory. That's all that means, right? So you would have to be able to pull things in as needed, and that's available to you. You just have to implement it.
So you
right?
just need a
But
magical
not everybody's
SSD.
done that.
is that what
Well, partially, yes. That is partially it, right? You're supposed to stream in parts of the background as needed, right? So that is part of velocity. Outside of that, you would have to bring everything into main memory to be able to actually have it run, right? So that is part of what velocity does for you. But
Yeah.
a lot of people haven't implemented
but so-
it. Some have.
So when we
And
think
when you get there, that eliminates that problem.
So when you think split screen, what you're doing is, and thank you to Pete for doing a shitload of research on this, you need about 25% to 30% more memory for split screen, right? It's not double. It doesn't double what's on the screen, obviously, because it splits the
Exactly.
screen, right? So it's about 25 to 30% more memory, and you need to be able to stream in have that in memory, what's on screen or what's coming up next, right? Because that gets streamed in prior to the next thing, obviously, where you're going to go. Right, or as you move through the screen, it'll do that as you
And that's
move
where
around.
some of the features that are built into velocity help you out, right? And so
Yeah.
that's part of what you're supposed to do. And
But
take
have we
advantage of
even
that.
used velocity yet? Have they even used that for anything?
Very few have. Some have.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
are starting to use it, and that's how they're going to
Yeah.
get around these things. By the way, that's how they'll end up doing it. They'll use velocity.
Exactly.
It'll end up working.
Yeah.
But you're
So-
never going to
And
see
this is what
adoption
I've
from
been
third
pointing
party.
out for a while.
You're never going to see adoption from
Yeah,
third
mean,
party.
and
Larian's
this is
gonna do
why
that.
this is why I'm saying that we need the coalition to be working on these things in the background. We need Turn 10 to be working on these things in the background. Once they figure it out, then they can then pass on this information to third-party developers. Because you're right, Riz,
Yes.
they're not going to do it, bro. They're not going to take the time to implement it on for the Xbox. They're going to be more focusing on where they get highest sales, which will always be PC and PlayStation, unfortunately. And so this is why we need the coalition to step up. We need Microsoft's dev team to be going out there and training these developers up.
Yeah.
We don't want this and you said it perfectly throughout the week, Chris. You said that Microsoft should have set that development team out to Baldur's Gate 3 or any game that we know is going to be quite big, so this problem doesn't happen going forward.
Early.
And I do think
I
that
just wonder how they
problem,
plan for
does,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it does need to be fixed by Microsoft.
My
Yeah,
thing is
agreed.
this: where there's smoke, there's fire. I hear you on it, Hargeet, but my thinking is this: it's where there's smoke, there's fire. We keep hearing the same thing, like Risky pointed out a minute ago, with the split screen. I think that is the identifier right there. I think it's the common denominator. So I feel like I don't think it's the X. If PlayStation can get it and have it running on there with their split screen, they're not superior to the Xbox Series X. So for me, it just comes down to the Series
The
S.
split screen that I was talking about was for Forza, right? We were talking about why not
okay, I
on
got you.
Forza. On that one, I
Got
think
you,
it
got
might
you.
be ray tracing that's doing that.
And I hear you on that, and I'll challenge that only because they can simply say, "Hey, we're not going to give you ray tracing. We tried it. It didn't work out, right? Now, they
Oh,
could do that.
No.
It would look bad.
If
but
they
then-
did that,
as
it would
usual,
look
right?
terrible.
It would look bad, yeah. So I guess they would have to weigh it out. So I guess they weighed it out and said, well, we got to keep to the ray tracing promise versus that. So
Yep.
I don't know, man. I guess I hear you on it. I
But
don't
on
know.
the Larian side, yeah, it's going to be they have to stream data in. They just have to use velocity, and they don't know how to do it. They will get to it eventually, but whatever, right? So, and I think that was actually mentioned somewhere. Was like, have you used velocity? It's like, oh yeah, that could solve it. And like, okay, they just haven't paid attention to it. They haven't done the work on it. It is more challenging than just throw it on there. That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah,
It's going to be more challenging.
And
than that.
again, to Still Rain's point, he said no one could have predicted. That's something I said earlier in the week. Maybe they couldn't have predicted, but also they've got their fingers in the pies of every developer that's launching a game on their system. And it's it's not an indie game. We knew it wasn't going to be an indie game. It's a AA. So they know what's coming down the pipeline, and they get out to these people and have a look. Get out to these studios and have a look at what they're doing once they realize how good something is and that they're having issues. So my thing is, okay, so you need to, and this is what I said earlier in the week. Obviously, Matt Booty's got his head's hanging out of his ass. He's flat out. Like, he's got a ridiculous amount of studios. It's grown more than 100% in the time that he's been the head of studios. So then you've got Sarah Bond. She's head of technology, right? She has a tech team. They need to expand that tech team and put someone like a Matt Booty in charge of that tech team, heading out to these third-party studios going, hey, we need our console not to look like it's struggling.
I don't know if it needs to be Matt Booty running that team, but I agree with you. But here's the thing: like, there were rumors that people were asking, like even Larian might have been asking, but there were studios asking, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, we'll get back to you in like 6 months." Right?
That's
and it's
not
like,
good enough.
well, okay, so that means maybe they're tied up or they've lost people or whatever. But one thing that I've been thinking is maybe they decided, you know what, we're gonna go all out on Starfield, and we're gonna send every good person we have to to Bethesda and make sure that game shines as much as it possibly can. And you saw like the difference between the first trailer and the one they just showed in June, and wow, it is way better, right? Like it looks a lot better, right? So I'm wondering if that's what happened. They just said, hey, you know what? We have like, I don't know, 50 people. We're going to take 30 of them and send them to Bethesda. And you are going to make that thing shine, right? And now those people are coming back, and now they can lend them out. We heard that Larian actually got somebody now, right? So they've gotten some help from Xbox. And I think that maybe that's all it is. Maybe they're like, you know what? This game, we are going to send everybody. We want this Starfield to come out and be as good as it possibly can, right?
So a question to you guys. Now, Captain Crunch in the chat made a great point. Split screen for Forza Motorsport. Do you even think they're even using ray tracing during that?
Yeah, I mean, couldn't you turn it off? That's the thing.
Promised. I don't know.
But
I have no idea.
But here's the thing, guys, and I'll add to what you're saying, Umbra, and just to sort of, it may bolster, it may not. There's not, it's not just split screen that's gone. So the drift and drag modes are not coming in day one. That's legacy. They've cut cars, they've cut tracks from the game because they couldn't get it developed in time. And the AI and physics improvements, that they are mostly going to be there, but there's a few of those that aren't as promised either. So what we were saying, I think, 6 months ago, we're like, is this troubled development? I feel like it is troubled development. I think like they are struggling, but what's the reason? And I know that you guys in the chat, a lot of you have been going at me saying, it's not the S, blah 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 blah. But having more SKUs and less memory to develop for is going to make things more difficult. You cannot deny that.
That is facts.
You can't deny
I agree.
it. And then you're trying to.
Another thing they haven't been using as well is variable rate shading. I mean, that's going to free up about 10 to 15%, and I haven't heard that being used as well. I mean, look at what id Software were able to do with Doom when they implemented it. I mean, that game just runs magically, and you can't tell me that. I mean, they are the benchmark to me, and they did say that they were going to struggle with the Series S when it comes to this. That they were the first ones to point it out. I think they pointed it out in 2020. They have since deleted the tweet. But so I do trust them. They're geniuses. They're technical masters when it comes to this. But you're right, Huggy. I mean, the implementation of these things, like velocity architecture, like using mesh shaders instead of the ones that they're using, like the primitive shaders they're using at the moment, like variable rate shading, full RDNA2 architecture. That really is going to alleviate a lot of the issues that we're running into at the moment. The problem is PlayStation doesn't have that full implementation of RDNA2, and so you're going to have to make two separate cycles of development. And that's why when they announced the PS5 Pro, I'm not totally against it, because then they'll be closer to the X. They will have full RDNA2 implemented.
More reason why Xbox is going to have to do it to have parity too. They can't afford to have PlayStation have a Pro while they're still at the X. But again, my thing is, I think we kind of overlooked it. Captain Crunch, I think, made a great point. I don't think there's ray tracing in split screen. So if that's the case and it's disabled, I don't think it could be the X that would be the outlier here. It has to be the S, in my opinion, and when it comes to the Forza here. So my thing is, it's always the S. It comes back to the S. Now, it's a RAM issue, whatever the case is. They're going to have to figure that out somehow. And I think maybe if they can just, I don't know, man. I don't even know a real solution for some of this right here.
Let me say something real quick. Hold on. Everybody talking about sending teams and helping out these other developers and everything. No.
Oh, you cut out.
Gotta start. It's gotta start in-house first. They need to get their in-house studios running on all cylinders first. Redfall patch needs to come out. Why is Starfield on the Xbox Series X 30 frames? Because you could collect sandwiches? Okay, sure, whatever. Why is Forza Motorsport missing features? Why did Halo come out missing modes? All these things have to be fixed. The fact that no one on this panel right now can tell me for certain that Hellblade is going to have a 60 frames per second mode, it has a problem. That's a problem. The fact that no one on this panel right now could guarantee me that Perfect Dark is going to run at 60 frames because Xbox has already released a first-person shooter at 30 frames in 2023, which sounds ridiculous to say, but it's the truth. These are the things that they need to fix. They got to work with in-house studios. That's it. Get the in-house studios to figure out how to use the X. There's no excuse. And then from there, then they can go out and help out all these other third-party studios, whatever the case may be. But if these consoles are as powerful as they are, and it really is as easy as just downscaling from the Series X to the S, then prove it. Do it, Microsoft. Do it, Xbox. Do it with your.
Those are facts. They should be doing that. Yeah, 100%. So the feature that they need to use is called sampler feedback streaming. That's the feature that it basically pulls in textures in much smaller modes, so it takes up less memory, right? So that's the feature that would help them with the Series S.
Yeah.
And that's part of Velocity, right? That's the thing they have to. But 100%, that is more work. There's just no way around that. It's more work, right? It's not like a simple plug and play. You gotta go do it, right? And so that is what's causing some headaches. But I agree with you, Doc, that their in-house studios should be representing, so like Spider-Man Miles Morales came out. They did ray tracing on that one, didn't they? And that was a launch title. They managed to put that out like a few weeks later, right? So, and that's what they do, right? PlayStation puts out things that showcase the game, like the system, right? With the what's that other one that came with it? The Astro, whatever it was.
Astro's
that
Playroom.
Game. Yeah, and that showcases what the thing is about, like what your controller, like all that. Right? They do that kind of thing, right? And
guys, Xbox
needs to do the same.
They gave God of War 120 frames per second mode. Why? Just to flex on it. Just because the guy can't even jump. But here you go, 120 frames. Because we can. That's the type of stuff that Xbox should be doing. They should be like, Redfall should be a horrible game, but it's horrible, but it's running at 144 hertz, 144 frames. You know what I mean? Like at least
Halo does, but yeah, to your point, more games should be doing a lot more, right?
Yeah, Starfield is going to be one of those big first-party IPs that are coming out. But the problem is Starfield's using Creation Engine. Nobody else uses that except for Bethesda. Yeah. So how much other developers are going to learn from that still remains to be seen. I doubt it's going to be that much.
Coalition's the one that's going to be the helping.
Yes.
Yeah, and then
exactly. And how much they learned during the making of the Matrix will, I think really show out. They're masters of their craft, the Coalition. A lot of them were there when Epic actually designed Unreal Engine, so, they've been there for a long time. And those guys work really well hand in hand with each other.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to see, things that are Unreal was another worry as well at the moment. Doesn't seem that we can get a Unreal 5 game with more than 30 frames a second, but I mean, first party does need to show out, absolutely. But when you're talking about a game that's as big as this, they should have done something earlier. They should do something. I mean, when you talk about Starfield not being 60, yeah, that's a lot of people aren't mad about that. But it's an L. That's a massive L. Like it's but
cut off again.
But one more thing I'll add. We still haven't seen, I don't think, and I think this was the first one that I was touting as, so maybe I'm wrong, but we still haven't seen a game built from the ground up with the velocity architecture, with RDNA 2, with all these, with mesh shaders, with all this sort of stuff built from the ground up to run. So why aren't they doing that? Where are those games? What's going on? It is a bit of a worry. I think everyone's got the valid points in this, but yeah, the S is a potato. I think that's what we came to. No, just kidding. I know chat's going to lose their mind that I just said that. Like, I'm kidding. I think the S is a great little box. I think they do need to still run parity. I think it's something that...
You do want parity? I thought we came to a consensus that we don't want parity.
No. You got to do parity. They can't change that. There's nothing they can do right now.
There's no way around that.
Yeah, there's not a way around it, right? I mean, the only way around it is a new console, and then they can let the S go over time. But yeah, we do have to move on before Doc loses his shit again. We do have to move on to
that was supposed to be a short one, right?
Yeah.
Was it? My bad.
We're going to move on to the next topic.
I love it, Doc. Love the passion.
Before I do, please hit the like button. You guys are long-time supporters. We appreciate every single one of you. And anyone who's new here, guys, please hit the subscribe button. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. If you're in the US, it's 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you're in the East, and if you're in WA like me, no one cares, but it's 8 a.m. Super chats. Randy G with the $5 super chat. He says, Doc out here trying to please the ponies by holding Xbox accountable. Shade. Bit of shade.
I know, right? That's crazy.
Doovie with the $5 super chat. I'd like to know, why isn't the PS5 version of Baldur's Gate 3 didn't come out when the PC version did? Did Series S's fault? They just don't have the same support. No, I think that was sort of a planned drop around Starfield. I think there might be a conversation in the background with Sony on that one.
Yeah.
I reckon that's not by accident.
Something.
Enigmatic Dreams, guys, if you type question in your comment, then I will absolutely read it out. I'm not a pony bot. Come on, fuck me. Enigmatic Dreams, he said the question is, are you playing Starfield on the Series X? If so, they already got you. Your argument's invalid because you already got the Series X. Oh, shit. He just invalidated everything we talked about. Pyro Mad with the £2 super chat. GeForce Now plus Edge. Play Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox before PlayStation. Yeah, and you can do that. Yeah, I mean, I could get it on the PS5, or I could probably run it on my on Mac. Actually, you can run it on the Mac setup that I've got, but I'm not gonna. Xbox is my jam, and there's too much out. I don't have time for that right now. I'll play it probably start of Jan.
That's fair.
Yeah.
There is a lot to play still.
Yeah, there's too much to play. There's never too much. Batman is not a superhero. Click. $2 super chat. He says, I agree with the tank top warriors. I don't know how he knows I'm wearing a tank top, but I think he's talking about Doc Dark. Silent Cypher with the $2 super chat. He says, Pete, they drop features for the children. For the children.
Moving of the children.
That's going to be the theme song.
I'll make sure I'll redo the intro. We are the world.
Oh,
I'll see if I can get Mike Tyson to sing it. I'll send him
oh my gosh.
Oh no.
I'm ready to go.
No.
We are the world.
We are the
We
world.
are the children. Coach, don't interrupt me. I'm singing right now. Leave me alone. I'm singing We Are the World. It was co-written by Michael Jackson. I love him. He's stupendous.
Sing it again. Oh my god.
We are the world. We are the children.
Oh shit.
Oh my god.
It's hilarious.
We did get a new super chat in just now with the $5 super chat. Alvin, thank you, mate. He says, I think split screen co-op is already solved for Baldur's Gate 3. They're just spinning this story to delay it so it doesn't drown Starfield's wake. Another possibility. I don't think they're that far off. I just don't want them dropping it this year. I want to drop next year. Like I really do. I just don't have time for it. So, and moving on to the next topic. I think we're going to start throwing some shade at Square Enix again. Final Fantasy 16 did not meet expectations. Has anything ever met, like, I wonder what it's like to live with these guys. You know what I mean? You like cook, you know, say their missus, they've cooked breakfast, they eat the breakfast, look across the table. You know, I was expecting better from you. That breakfast.
What happened?
It just didn't.
And we lose Riskit again.
That breakfast just didn't didn't do it. Like,
You know why? You know what he's doing? He's doing the podcast from a Series S.
No, he's doing it for a Mac.
Oh,
It's a Mac.
Don't you throw shade at Mac. Don't you throw shade at my Mac. I love my Mac. It's a closed ecosystem where no one else can get into. I love it. We're elitists.
Right.
We're elitists over here. Me and PlayStation guys would get along. As soon as I say Mac, they're like, oh, I love you, man.
Yikes.
Oh, he really is falling apart. Oh man, you back? You back?
Square Enix share price dropped dramatically when this came out. I don't know if you guys saw that. Did you guys see how badly
Oh,
that
did it? I did not see that.
it took a dive?
15% in a day.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. The like watch the line just bombed,
Can
man.
barely tell what you're saying, man. Jeez.
Bro.
Am I cutting in and out? Look, I'll just dip in and out. But guys, we're talking about.
that's
let me
bad.
just dip.
Yeah.
And we're
And
back.
says,
Okay.
when your CEO comes out and says that games aren't selling and that aren't meeting expectations, I don't know how you find that shareholders and investors are going to have any confidence in you going forward. Now, I think Square Enix had a plan of pushing their mobile division a lot further going forward, and I think a lot of the dive was because of that. We all know that the mobile market is just absolutely skyrocketing at the moment. I mean, you can't say that Final Fantasy 16 didn't sell well. I mean, it's a PS5 exclusive and it sold 3 million consoles. That's actually really good uptake, especially when you consider it against the other titles that have launched exclusively on PS5. But
how
I
much did it
just
sell?
don't understand how 3 million, which is actually quite good, considering it's an exclusive.
It's an
So I
attach
don't
rate
know
of about
how-
7%, and that's not terrible. 10's what you're going for. 7's not bad.
Exactly. So I don't understand why the CEO is going out and saying this. I mean, that's just gonna hurt investor confidence every time going forward. But you're back now, Riz, so go for it, mate.
I think he's saying that because he wants to let them know, like, hey, maybe we should put this on Xbox too. Makes sense. Maybe we should put this on PC too. See, the problem is everyone thinks they're Nintendo. Nintendo's the one that can bring out a buggy Pokemon game and still send 10 million copies.
10? No, 20.
Oh, 20. Yeah. The same game twice, different Pokemon. They're geniuses. Right? Nintendo's the only one that can actually do something like that. But these Sony exclusives, especially for how many PlayStations are out there, then they're not doing the same numbers. So yeah, it makes sense. Hey, if we put this on Xbox, maybe it would have sold more. Yeah, probably would have. Now you figure it out.
So
It should have done that from the beginning.
yeah, so this is a long thing that's been going on with Square, right? They were, well, according to what we saw, they were about to be acquired by Microsoft, right? But then the whole Starfield exclusivity thing happened, so they went to ZeniMax instead. And left Square Enix in the dust. At that, before that, you were seeing a whole lot of stuff coming from Square over to Microsoft, right? You had like Outriders going to Game Pass day and date, Octopath Traveler coming in. They lent their studio to make Fable. I mean, all sorts of things were going on. They were bringing all the Final Fantasies over, right? There's a lot of stuff going into Game Pass. They were working with Microsoft. They brought Avengers into Game Pass, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Suddenly that happened, and the CEO didn't seem to like it, and they went a different direction, and they said, hey, everything exclusive to PlayStation, and that hasn't quite panned out for them. So that CEO is gone.
You know what? The Takashi Kiryu also said, and this is throwing shade. This is really unexpected, if you ask me. He said the slow. He blamed a little bit on the slow adaptation. The slow adoption of the PS5. Now that is directly throwing shade at PlayStation, who really are their number one customer base. That's
Right.
insanity to me. And I think it goes to what you were saying, Doc, where maybe he does want to move forward and start making these non-exclusive now. And I hope that's the case.
Well, I mean,
but
they
what do
kind
you
of said
think,
it, right? So, he came in, was it June, I think, something like that. He came in June, the new CEO, and, the next thing they do that's big is they have this Final Fantasy showcase, and in comes Phil Spencer, right? And they just outright
They
said,
brought the
"We're
man
bringing-"
on stage.
Right? They are bringing they said most, everything's coming over, right? That's what they're planning to do, right? Unless there's some contractual thing, they're going to be bringing games to Xbox. So they're shifting direction, right? And so I think there was that little period where the ex-CEO was a little miffed that Square got left at the altar, and they said to hell with Xbox, and that was not working for them. In the last several games, they failed, right? So they are looking to change that direction. I still think it's a very viable option that Microsoft could pick them up. They're now worth like $4 billion. They're really plummeting. So,
I like how
Oh,
you're
damn.
thinking. Yeah.
so they could just pick them up, and then that problem is solved for them. They don't have to worry about it. It's all Game Pass, right? So, but either way, I agree with you, Pete. I think they are definitely moving in that direction. But they outright said it, right? The CEO came out outright and said, "Yeah, we're going to be putting our games on Xbox."
I don't think that. What do they got? 3 million, 4 million. I think it's 3 million sales they're up to. That's not a bad run for a third party console exclusive. Like I said, it's a 7% attach rate. That's not terrible.
100% agree, Riskit. The problem is that it's Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy is the only game that really drives their profits right now. And if that game didn't bring in a lot of money, it's going to be an L for them, right? Because they have been having L after L after L after L. They needed something to solidify their cash. That's been the headache with them. So yes, they're investing in other stuff, but they needed something to give them more, cash, just running cash, and that they were hoping this would do that. I don't know what they were expecting though. To your point, having even 7% attach rate is insanely good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, it's insanely good. Think of what was that game from Bend? It was Days Gone. Days Gone went into a console space of like 80 to 90 million and sold something like the same thing, like 3 million or something like that. Eventually it got much better, but that's what they got, right? So that's a first party game that didn't have a high attach rate. And they're getting 3 million out of 30 million. That's really good. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
So, but they wanted more and they needed more. If they had put it in PC at least, they'd get a few million more right there. And the buzz going away is the big problem for them, because the onslaught isn't stopping. You got Baldur's Gate, you got Starfield, and it just keeps going, right? There's more and more games coming out.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy will have legs, but once it releases on PC,
It'll
will
get
do
something,
incredibly well.
but
Yeah.
not as much as it could have if they had released it day and date in the
Facts.
month it
That's
came
true.
out,
Facts.
right?
I mean-
Because that was the game that month, and it's like, just get it, and
Right.
they decided to screw themselves.
Do you know what they could do, though? Do you know,
No,
what,
I
you know what they
agree with
could do? Just quickly, I'll jump to you, Umber, in 2 seconds. They could make a good game, and then that would probably help their case.
I can't really say that FF16 is a
Yeah.
bad game. It's rated pretty highly. Most of the people I hear who play the game have complaints, but they finish it.
I
So-
think it being a good game is not really the issue, right? I think it being a diversion away from, or them diverting away from the roots of what Final Fantasy was, is the bigger issue. I think from what I've seen,
it's
most
causing complaints.
because most complaints I've seen from
Yeah.
Final Fantasy diehards is that it went away from turn-based, stylings into a more, one button pressing Devil May Cry wannabe type style game. So from what I've seen of it, the game looks good. I'm not paying $70 for it. I'll wait for it. It's no rush to get to it, but missing out on putting on PC, especially and during Xbox, is terrible idea, and I agree with you. It's going to get diminished returns by the time it does come out. So I think that's what brought them to the table with the Phil Spencer. Like they know,
That was hilarious.
they know,
Phil
they know
Spencer.
the diminishing returns are there.
Their revenues
Yes,
still
sir.
increased 14% year over year, so they were making more money, but it was their profits that dropped off by 65%. So what do you guys think that is? Do you think they've got a lot of stuff going on in the background?
No.
They do have games in the works, right? Obviously. So, but
Oh yeah, look, I look. Square done fucked up when they sold off their Western studios, and the way that they treated those Western studios. You heard it from I think it was head of Crystal Dynamics or was it Montreal? It could have been it could have been Montreal where he said that it felt like any time that they tried to sort of have any dialogue, they weren't treated the best. You know, they were getting back, sort of a little bit of toxicity. I don't think he used the word toxicity, but I think that was the worst thing. And I think now that those kids have left the house, and now it's the other studios that are copying the ire of mum and dad. But I also completely agree, Hargeet, Doc Dark. This probably is the CEO, and I said earlier in the week, this is probably the CEO saying, right, hey, I'm just pointing out how bad the previous decisions were, and I'm saying that this didn't meet expectations. And he's not saying what he's going to do about it, but he did. He did it at the show, but he's not saying what he's going to do about it. But we know what he's going to do about it. He's going to act like a third-party developer. There you go. Yeah, he's going to act like a third-party developer. He's not going to. They've been acting like they're a first-party studio, and that's not what you should do if you're third-party. So I completely agree with all you guys' takes on that one. We get a couple more things. Thank you, Thaman, Slick and Greasy, for the subscription. Really appreciate it. We've got a couple of questions. We've got a couple of super chats, and we got one more topic that I just want to, or a couple more that I want to cover off on because there's a few in there, but we're running close to time. So please hit the like button if you guys support us every week and you haven't done that yet. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. I'll jump to these super chats and questions real quick, and then we'll jump on to the next couple of topics that I want to cover off on real quick because there's sort of some cool stuff's happening out there. Pyromat, he said, in your opinion, are Square like the 2016 Activision? Nothing meets the set unrealistic expectations, riddled with microtransactions, not paying staff bonuses. Squeenix is Asian Activision. I think this is a transitional period for them, and if they do this right, they can bounce back. But I think they're sort of at a crossroads where if they don't do something pretty soon, Square Enix will either go the way of the dodo or they'll get acquired. Either way.
Get acquired by Microsoft, perhaps.
I don't want them. I just do not want that studio. Mr. Bushido N7 with a $20 super chat. Thank you.
I don't think we need to read his
We definitely have to. He's paid that. He's all paid. Got to do it. He said, someone tell Hargeet I'd love him and that tell Umbra that his show is mid.
Two things I noticed there: jealousy and that he donated 20 here but didn't bother to donate anything to my show. I'm going to make sure to keep you off the cast as a guest. Yeah.
Shadow banned. Not even a shadow ban. It's a public ban.
Exactly.
James Thomas, he said Final Fantasy 16 is a good game. Is Final Fantasy 16 a good game, or does it just qualify as a good Final Fantasy game? Yeah, look, I didn't like it, and I don't think it's a good Final Fantasy game. It's not. I think Baldur's Gate sort of proved that you can go into that turn-based sort of action-adventure RPG and do it well. And I think Square might have lost their way slightly. Hopefully they kind of come back to that in the next iteration. But I've never been a Final Fantasy fan, so meh. I don't care, to be honest.
Largely the same for me. I did like 7 as far as Cloud and all that, but I'm kind of the same boat with you, brother. But also I would add though, and I said that on yesterday's show, Baldur's Gate is showing rather that you can stick to your roots and put out a quality game, and fans will still come to you.
Yeah,
so.
And it just won't run on the Xbox. We got a couple of quick ones that I want to run through. I probably won't go to the panel on this, but Take-Two has hinted in their financial end of year reporting that the release of GTA 6 will come in 2024, so that's good. In the last earnings call, Take-Two CEO and Chairman Strauss Zelnick said, we Take-Two remain confident that we are positioning our business for a significant inflection point in the fiscal year of 2025, which we would believe will include new record levels of operating performance. So there's no reason why they would have a massive bump in operating income and profit if they weren't releasing a new game. And there's only one game they're probably working on, so I think you can sort of take that as it comes. We'll probably see GTA 6 in 2024. And it looked good from those leaks, to be honest. A lot of people were harsh on it, but I don't think so. New Zealand approved the ABK deal. That's 41 countries.
Oh,
And Brad Smith said,
let's go.
Brad Smith said, with today's approval from New Zealand, we've cleared to move forward with our acquisition of Activision Blizzard in 41 countries. We'll continue to work to resolve outstanding concerns and bring this deal to a close. Even though the FTC has actually filed against the deal again, the filing is closed. So you can't actually read
Well, they didn't file against the deal. They filed to do the what is it for the block, right, to allow them to close, right? The injunction. They had an appeal option, and that appeal option had a deadline. They went ahead and continued with that deadline. But if they close before it, it's irrelevant. That entire injunction is irrelevant. So
yeah,
that's what they did.
Yeah, so I mean, but they're basically sort of filing again. Well, yes, I see what you're saying. They are filing to continue that injunction, but they're against the deal, and it doesn't seem that they're like dropping. I just sort of expected that they would drop it, but they haven't. One other thing I wanted to cover off on real quickly, and then there's a topic that I definitely want to cover off on and talk about. And we sort of touched on it earlier in the show, but Modern Warfare 3's reveal date has been released. I think it was in November. They're releasing. November the 10th, that'll be the release. And they've also got a reveal trailer coming up on August 18th. So keep an eye out for that. We know it's Modern Warfare 3. One thing I do want to mention here, which I'm loving, and I will jump back in because of this, everything you unlocked in Modern Warfare 2 will carry over to Modern Warfare 3. It's the first time they've done this. So any skins, operators, weapons, double XPs, even down to double XPs, everything will carry over to the new Modern Warfare. So that's beautiful. That's what they should be doing. That is consumer friendly. I hope it works out for them and it doesn't hurt their bottom line too much so they continue to do it with the next iterations. Topic I want to talk about, Halo Infinite update. Now, we have been traditionally extremely harsh on 343 and Halo on this show. Things are looking up. Things are actually looking up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said, Umbra, that they've placed in 11 new maps since this update, since this season.
Yep.
Yeah, so we've got 11 new maps
added.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some of them are remakes of old maps. Some of them are from the community and come from Forge. But this is the Halo that we wanted at launch, man. So, I mean, I don't want to go back and retread old ground and talk about what they did wrong. But there's a lot they're doing right now, and I've had a chance to dip in and play it, and I'm loving the new maps. I think they're fucking brilliant. Is Halo coming back? It seems there's a bit of a resurgence. Pete, do you think that there's a bit of a resurgence? Are you headed back to Halo, or are you just going to remain a remnant shell?
Yeah, I think I will go back. I haven't played the new Dredge map. I've played a little bit this season, so I have come back a little bit, and it is Halo's always fun. We haven't done those big Halo nights in a while, so I'm looking forward to getting back into them. And look, this is what we were asking for from 343. We've been asking for it for a while, and they're finally, putting out content. And a lot of it, I think, is on the back of the community. That Forge has been incredibly successful for them, and it's shown 343 the way. Those remaking of old maps, it's all they really needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't actually understand why they didn't do it sooner. I mean, it was all there for them. The problem that they run into now is there's so many games to play. There's so much coming out. I mean, there's a new Call of Duty around the corner. We've got Starfield around the corner. So how many people is this actually going to bring back? I think that remains to be seen. But the core Halo community, I think, are very happy with what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you couldn't be at this point. It's just it is, like you said, an absolute shame. I don't want to go back to the mistakes of the past. They didn't do this when Forge launched. Probably about a month to 2 months after, there was plenty of remakes of those maps they could have taken shined up a little bit and thrown into rotation, Umbra. I know you've been playing a little bit of Halo, and something that you sort of brought up, the 11 maps is sort of a crazy addition. In one season, we got 11 maps, whereas in the first season, I think we got a mode, not even a map.
Right, exactly. Like, look how far we've come, right? It's actually really good to see. I mean, the thing that's sad is that if they could have gotten so much of this mapped out before release, man, Halo Infinite would be in such a better place. You know what I mean? But I here's credit where credit is due. They're getting things in order now. So I'm not going to keep, trashing them when they're trying to get things right. 11 new maps added, like you pointed out. Some are fan made from the Forge, and some are Forge made by the team, the devs, and as well as their own original maps. And it's just been really good. Dredge, like you pointed out, Pete, the remake of Countdown is actually really solid. Played a good amount of matches on there, from King of the Hill to Oddball to Slayer. Really solid reimagining. I don't want to call it a direct recreation because it's a little different, but really well done. And then, I mean, you have so many balances that they've changed and corrected, right? Like the slide has been improved to back to where it should be. They had it before where you would slide. They messed it up and then you wouldn't slide properly. Now, if you play it with the update, you will slide crazy properly and just all over the place. It increases the movement skill that that Halo deceptively has, and I think that's something that people overlook, because Halo is one of those games that it seems simple, but once you conquer certain ways and aspects how to play it, you can really excel in ways that typical players can't when you know how to move properly. And one of those things is a slide that they've improved. They've also added, it's actually even more if you look at the big team battle maps. So they've added so many more things as far as those things go. And it's a lot of balancing issues too that they corrected. I think this is a good sign for the future, because now you're hearing rumors also of the PvE mode, which I'm not sure if you all heard about it, but they have a King of the Hill inspired firefight mode that's going to be coming in the next season. And so we're how many weeks are we into, or months are we into this current season? Is 1 month in? Because it's going to go for 3 months now, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think it's 3 months. I think they go for, I think a Halo season goes for about 6 years. I could be wrong.
Right. That's what it felt like before, right? But yeah, so 3 months of that, and I think we have 2 months left, if not less. So a lot of that is going to be alleviated when we get the PvE modes in, and this is a start coming in. For all we know, they could drop it at the end of this season, for all we know, depending on if it's ready to go or not. But I'm guessing they're doing, testing to make sure it runs right. But it's a lot of good moves that have been made here with Halo, and I'm happy for that. And I think the fans are reacting well to it. I think you continue to see the negative things for Halo, because that has been the status quo. Oh, Halo is still not this, it's still not that. Now they're not perfect. They have some things to go, as Pete, who consistently reminds us when he screams into our eardrums about the game, with some certain issues with the ping, for instance. But I think when they really get that networking ironed out, the game is going to excel in many ways. Now, one thing I will say, and I think we all agree here, they need some campaign DLC. I know they said they wouldn't do it, but they need to do it. I don't care what they're talking about. They need to fix that. Yeah, because that, I think, will bring more people back, along with what they're doing in multiplayer more than anything else. Give us campaign DLC. Don't just give up and abandon that part of the game.
I like that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I think if they do that,
they might actually do that.
Yeah.
Might actually do that when they launch the Certain Affinity Battle Royale mode, and I think that can bring a lot of people back. But Season 5 launches October 17th, bro.
Oh, nice. October 17th. So, yeah, about 2 months to go. That's what I'm thinking. So, perfect, man. I think, like I said, once they start doing that and get these modes of PvE put into it, I would, if they were smart. Now, we to be fair, we still have the issue, not the issue, but the situation with what's their name, making the alleged battle royale, which now we're hearing rumors. Certain Affinity, thank you. Who we're hearing is making a different game altogether, and it's not necessarily a battle royale now. So maybe that is them working on campaign or some type of spinoff or something like that. Remember, we even heard the crazy rumor that they would be moving to Unreal Engine, and that's what Certain Affinity was working on, is a new campaign and franchise or campaign in the series itself. So I wonder how true that is. I wonder what they're actually doing. Maybe they could be doing campaign DLC, and it wouldn't be a lie with 343 saying they're not doing it, right? That could fit too. Who knows? I know I'm wishing I'm wishing.
Yeah,
and
you
I'm
wishing.
reaching
You
here,
wishing
man.
hard.
Yeah, yeah.
You're reaching hard
But
with
I would
that
love
one.
it, man. I would love it to be the case, though. But I will say that they're moving in the right direction. I don't know if it's just Pete Heinz. I'm not sure how to say his last name. I think it's Heinz.
Yeah, I don't know why we
But-
have to have two Pete Heinzes or Heinzes. Like,
Yeah.
one of them surely is going to change their name. This is too confusing. People are like, oh, are you talking about Starfield or Halo? I don't know what's going on.
Right. Yeah, but I'm not sure if it's all him getting things in order, but I appreciate the
Pierre,
effort.
though,
It
right?
seems
Pierre
to be-
Heinz. Or
Yeah.
Heinz.
Oh, Pierre.
Yeah,
My bad.
Pierre.
Not Pete. Pierre. That's right.
Yeah,
Pierre
that's like
Heinz.
that's like Peter in French, though. That's all good.
Yeah. Right. Oui.
Herbs and spices. Huggy, what do you think, man? Is Halo sort of where it should have been, where it should be now, where it should have been when it launched?
Look, it should have come out in 22 instead of 21. It should have had a whole bunch of freaking stuff in it. But is it where it should be? If it had launched in 22, this is the progression we should have seen, right? The 3 to 4 month cadence of putting out content is far better and would have left a much better, I guess, taste for the players. Like it's been, way too long between seasons, but I kind of expected that. But when 21 happened, they said they couldn't even do co-op. I'm like, okay, dude, like you got a long time before you're giving us anything. And that's exactly what happened. Is it where it should be? I guess it just depends on whether people will pay attention to it. There are bigger games. Like even Call of Duty is now struggling to say, hey, I need to compete with a bunch of other games that people are more keen to go play. That's just unfortunately the way things are. Their numbers have come down a bit, right? So is Halo going to compete with any of that? I don't know. Is it going to get to the levels of, say, the Master Chief Collection? Sure, it could do that, right? And having enough maps, enough depth and breadth of modes and maps is going to help, right? So there could be more people playing it. They still need to introduce a few things that they don't have, things like map voting and stuff like that. But hey, they're getting there. It's getting pretty close. There's still probably some netcode issues, I'm sure. Let's see what they've done with the few patches if they're going to make that better. But that's kind of where they are, right? So they're competing with a lot of games, and I don't know if people will bring it back. There was so much enthusiasm when it came out, and it won like freaking Game of the Year from the fans on the Game Awards.
Sure did.
It was there was so much going in. They had so much positivity, and they blew it. And unfortunately, I don't know if it can come back that easily. They would need to sort of reboot in some way. Like Pete was saying, maybe that's the new Certain Affinity Battle Royale potentially, right? If that's happening. But as you're saying, Brett, might be that they're switching to new campaign content. That's a possibility. We don't know, right? But if there is a new major multiplayer thing that might revitalize it, I don't see it coming back to the levels that it could have been at. But maybe it'll get people in. But I think it's kind of, unfortunately, it's kind of lost its shine. it had buzz, but it just didn't keep up. And unfortunately, in this world, like Call of Duty releases stuff every few weeks, and like Fortnite releases stuff every few weeks, and you're like,
Yeah.
it's just not at that level, right? And they would have to do the same thing to really keep people interested. I don't know. I just don't know. I unfortunately don't think it's ever going to come back to that level.
The smart way
Sucks,
to do live service is to have your year mapped out, ready to go, and developed
Exactly.
when you release. And I don't know. I just don't think they did that. And I think if PlayStation's smart, they could probably learn with their gas games, looking back at what and looking at what Fortnite does, looking at what these live Apex does, having that content there ready to go. I think that would be a smart thing. Doc Dark, what do you think? We're back to where we should have been at launch, or we're in a good spot with Halo now, or it's dead?
I never stopped playing Halo. Halo is one of 3 games that doesn't come off my. It's Halo, or 4 technically. Halo, Forza, and Apex Legends. Roblox because of my kids, but those 4 games, no matter what I'm playing, I always say on my Xbox, have. I have enjoyed Halo Infinite since the beginning. I enjoyed the campaign. I thought the campaign was phenomenal. I enjoyed the multiplayer. I know it sounds crazy, but I do enjoy it, and I like playing a lot of ranked. And now I found a new love for it because me and my son play ranked doubles, and we have an amazing time playing it. So I've been enjoying Halo since it came out. So all this news is just better. More stuff, obviously, the better it is. But from the beginning, I have been enjoying Halo. So the whole thing of Halo is dead and all that stuff, I think it's for those people that have experienced Halo before. This is my first Halo multiplayer. So obviously I'm coming from a different place. So for me, this game has been phenomenal. I've really enjoyed it. So I'm glad of everything that I'm hearing from you guys saying and everything's coming up and the new maps and everything. I'll be honest with you. Me and my son play big team battles maybe every one, or we're just playing ranked and ranked doubles, which is the same rotation of like 5 maps, which I know sounds crazy, but that's kind of what you want in a game like this, because then you memorize the maps, and then there's a different skill level, and somebody was talking about the sliding and everything. Like, yeah, all that becomes part of it once you really memorize these maps, and you know if someone cuts this way, where they're going to go, and you can flank them because it's a 2-on-2 team. So I've been enjoying Halo Infinite. I hope more people can enjoy it as well. And yeah, the only thing I would agree would be with the DLC for the campaign. I think that has to happen. I think that would be tremendous. But besides that, I've been having a great time. So those are my 2 cents, man.
Yeah. Look, it's obviously first Halo though. What?
This is my first Halo multiplayer.
Oh, multiplayer. But you played 1, 2, 3.
So you guys don't know my background. This is my first generation with Xbox.
Oh, damn.
So let me explain something to you, so you guys can understand how I have experienced the Xbox. Xbox Series X. When I got this thing, and I got Game Pass, I ran through all the Halos back to back. Amazing, 4K 60 HDR. Okay, I experienced the Master Chief Collection after it had been all patched up and everything, no bugs, nothing. So although the horror stories that everyone's been talking about, I didn't experience that flawlessly, okay? From Halo 1 all the way to Halo Infinite, played them all. Then I went ahead and I played all the Gears back to back, okay? 4K, HDR, 60, amazing, okay? I couldn't believe when people were telling me Xbox had no games. I was like, what are you? Then I played Rise of the Rome, amazing. Then I played Sunset Overdrive, amazing. Then I played Quantum Break, amazing. Then I played amazing. Then I played Hellblade, amazing. I have been gaming this generation, and it's all thanks to Game Pass and the Series X. So I am experiencing things the way no one has ever experienced them before. And I would argue with you that it would behoove you to stop buying games day in, day anyways, because they've been proving that these games are better played 6 months to a year from now anyways. They're coming out broken and needing patches and all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Am I lying? You're dropping $70, $60 for a game that's going to be a better experience a little bit later.
I've been waiting for that thing to be patched up.
Okay, so for me, listen, I remember when I started my channel, people hated the fact that I was so pro subscription service and you're going to end gaming. No, you don't understand. For $15 a month, I got to play all the classics way better than you played them. These are just facts. Way better than you played them, I got to play them. And it was because of the Series X. And the Series X had a FPS boost. I just finished playing, the game that I just finished playing was Titanfall 2. Played it at 120 frames on my Series X. Amazing game, phenomenal game, okay? I just finished playing it. So for me, my Xbox Series X has given me a lot of games. Now that I'm starting to look at these newer games that are coming out, and I'm seeing like what's happening with Baldur's Gate and stuff like that, that's where my concern is with the Series X, that I'm not going to get to see the full power of it. But I say this all the time. I tell everybody this. The Xbox Series X is the best Xbox. If you've never experienced an Xbox, the Xbox Series X is the best Xbox, and get yourself Game Pass, and you'll be able to play so many games, so many great classics that are upscaled and everything. I played Red Dead Redemption at 4K 30 HDR, and that was an amazing game. First time ever on this generation. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's why when I say this was my first Halo Infinite multiplayer, yeah, it was. It was. And this generation was the first time I've actually played Halo. So trust me, I've been gaming, guys.
Nice, man. Well, I would recommend this to a lot of guys that are what Colt calls PlayStation only fans. Is like, jump across. There is plenty here to play if you haven't played it before. These are great games. Great games. But look, guys, that is bringing us to the end. We definitely got to do the outros. Doc Darkman, thank you for coming through, giving us your takes. Let people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to. But if you guys do want to find him easily, you can head down into the description. All of his links are there. Click on, check out his YouTube channel, and you will definitely have a laugh daily. Doc, let the people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to.
Hey, I appreciate that. So, DocDog1985, that's the name of the YouTube channel. That's the name of the Twitch channel. On Twitch, fair warning, on Twitch, I don't counsel war. I play games. So if you want to come watch me play games, that's where you come. You come to Twitch. On YouTube, yes, I'm all about the thing. I have a lot of fun with this stuff. Okay, I use this stuff just for entertainment. I don't take anything too serious. You can also find me on Twitter trolling, and my gamer tag is DocDark1985 on all platforms, so even on the Pony Station. So go ahead, send me a friend invite. I will accept you on Nintendo, on Steam, on this, on Xbox. And yeah, it was a pleasure being on here. I do want to say one last thing before we go to somebody else. Notice how in this podcast we also critiqued Microsoft. We also went hard on Xbox, so no one can say that we only went at Sony, boo-hoo, this and that. Like, no, we also critique the console and the platform that we prefer, and I think that keeps the platform honest, and that's what we should keep doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there's a lot of guys out there. I think Gaz defined a pony bot as someone who acts like a pony but is a bot. I would go along with that. There's a few of those guys out there, man. Like, you've got to give valid criticisms to the platform that you're on. Otherwise, it's not going to improve. You're going to end up with $70 games. Right. You know, they're going to up the price of your console. You know, they're not going to have a Game Pass equivalent. They're just going to try to rip you off with old games. Anyway, I'm losing. Hagi Chatty, it was another fantastic show. Thanks for coming back. Always love having your takes. And if you do want to find Hagi, you can find him down in the description also with all the places that he appears. I don't think I've got Booms in there, but I will definitely add that because I had a bit of a busy week, man. Thanks for coming back on the show. Love having you on. Let the people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to this week.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, bud, and always great. Doc, it was great getting your passionate take on the Series S, much like what we had with D a couple of weeks ago on the mid-gen refresh on RDX. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, those are always fun to be in and also listen to. Passion makes it much more interesting, right? So
thank you, bro.
But yeah, and I will be on Go Live tomorrow, and I'll also be on ILP. I'll be on ILP on Sunday. So catch those. And then regularly I'm on RDX. That's on Tuesdays at 8, and Boom's Primetime Gaming Wednesdays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. But yeah, and this was kind of a lot of fun, even though it was a lighter week. Definitely had a lot of fun with the Series S topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same.
Absolutely. Infinite Umbra, another fantastic week. Let the people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to this week. What's going on with your show that I believe Mr. Bushido called Mid? You want to defend that for sure. Now's the time. And let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter. I had to guesstimate that one. Right? Y'all heard that, right? You can find me. You guys can find me on Twitter, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. Man, it was a great show here tonight. Man, Doc, thank you for joining us and the passion that you brought forth. Hargeet, thank you for always being a stalwart member of the community and giving your great takes as well. And of course, to you two gentlemen, my brothers here on the podcast, great takes and good laughter. Bushido, You will never be on the show. Chat. All love to you guys, especially Patron, who said my show was mint. Yeah, I agree with him. And yeah, man, we got some things coming up this week. You all can find me also on Boom's podcast, the Xbox Factor, on Tuesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern, and on my show, The Fix, Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern, and of course here, 8 o'clock Eastern on Fridays. And man, that's really it for me this week. I'm going to get into some more Atlas Fallen and Halo. Halo is legitimately fun. We weren't just saying that to blow smoke. You all should get into it and play it and try it out again. It's really solid.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do want to find, again, Umbra and his show, you can head down in the description, and his links are all there. JediKnightPete, another fantastic week. Let people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to. How's your week looking?
Awesome show today. Doc, it was awesome to have you, man. Love the passion, man. 2 weeks in a row, we've had Doc bringing the passion. We had Ginger Prime bringing the passion last week. Love this show. Chat was on fire today. Huggy, man. I mean, you're always bringing it. Like a panel member now, brother. Love having you on the show. Umbra, awesome. Riskit, awesome as well. Yeah, I'm going to be playing Remnant 2 and maybe a little bit of Atlas Fallen and maybe a little bit of Halo.
Yeah, I just cannot do Atlas from what I've seen, man. It seems like Forspoken 2.0. Not doing it for me. Yeah,
Another square failure.
Yeah, I can't do it. We'll see. Maybe I'll let Pete Number play it out, and then they can tell me if it's going to be something I'm going to get into. But yeah, if you want to find me, you can catch me on Twitter under Riskit4TB, trolling weekly, just for shits and giggles. I don't take any of that stuff seriously. And all you guys in the chat, you've been absolutely amazing, man. Thank you for coming through every week, supporting us. We appreciate every single one of you. And you guys who are new here, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to hit like on the way out. And we are out of here as soon as I can find the button. I've lost it.
Later.
There it is. There's a button. Press the button.
Later, guys.